Hello, and welcome to TSTV, a show in which I, Sadie, guide my friend Lily through the wild world of Twin Peaks. Today we are talking about Episode 16, also known as Season 2, Episode 9, also known as Arbitrary Law. Lily, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. As you know, I've been down with COVID for a little bit, but I got my negative PCR test a day or two ago. So I'm chill. I've changed exactly nothing. I basically still haven't left the house because I've been busy filming, but feeling better, which is lovely. Not taking that for granted. We spent so much of last month just out of the house, just traveling around for family stuff and work stuff. And so it's been fucking great just being at my house. Although, as you know, having COVID meant that I missed out on a pretty exciting thing with you last week.
Yeah, it's too bad. We were going to go on a writing retreat and you weren't able to go. But I'm pretty happy I got some pretty good writing done. I've been working on my one novel manuscript a lot, but I ended up not actually working on it that much. I think just being in a new space, I was I got to do other stuff, but I started a new project, got some poetry done.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it was beautiful.
Fuck yeah.
It was so cool. When we went, we just booked a chalet, Airbnb, and it was by a lake. And when we showed up, the lake was half frozen and the other half was very violent current. And then after the first night, it had completely frozen. It was whoa, what a cool nature transition to see,
That's super cool. Damn, I really like that.
I'm just trying to think. Let's talk about some movies that I saw. I saw Nosferatu. I thought it was kind of mid. I hate to say it.
Yeah, too bad.
And actually, I saw one that friend of the show, Neja, showed us, Memento Mori, 1999. Have you ever heard of this, Lily?
No, I don't think so.
It seems to be pretty, not enormously well known. It only has I'm looking at its Letterboxd right now. It only has 300 or 400 reviews or something.
Oh wow,
but
yeah, obscure.
Yeah, and as I said, it was one of her all-time favorites. So it's a Korean horror movie, and it's part of a trilogy, but that's just about fucked up shit happening at this school, and it's disconnected from the other two, except that it's also at the school, and it's about this these lesbians who are being lesbians at this all-girls high school and experiencing consequences of that, and then spooky shit happens. Apparently it was one of the first big queer Korean films, but yeah, I don't know, it was really cool. I'd be really interested to watch it with you one day and see what you think. It was really interesting for being a kind of seminal queer film in that context, and from the 90s, and that it kind of just takes their gayness for granted. It just starts and they're just flirting and then dating, and then later spooky shit happens. It doesn't have the early queer movie thing of can it be, but we're both girls, you know what I mean? It's just yeah, bitches be gay.
Bitches be gay. Oh, I love it. That sounds very cool.
Yeah.
I have not been watching any movies. God, as soon as I realized that I was getting sick, I tweeted out I'm going to spend this entire time watching movies. I think I might have watched a single one. I think I watched 0, but I have been playing a quite good video game with Vic. It is Rise of the Golden Idol. Have you heard of this one?
Oh, I think I have seen a bit of some streamers play this at one point. Yeah, tell me about this.
Yeah, so this is an occult conspiratorial sort of mystery game. It's a sequel to one that came out a few years ago, where essentially you are presented with these very dense scenes, and you're essentially made to fill in the blanks of who are all these people, what are they doing, what are their secret motives. And yeah, this one's great. It takes place in the 70s, and it's all built around without giving too much away, I guess a form of mind control, a corporate mind control thing. It's just a fucking huge game, and I'm not very good at these things. Vic is an absurd genius at them. So most of the time I was just watching them make these crazy connections of oh, this guy is secretly that guy, and he was in this scene. It was a sight to behold. It's a great game. We're always looking for games to play with our 2 combined brains on the couch,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
it was a banger.
I'm realizing I think I had actually seen the previous one, and I remember it like jumping around a lot in time and like having fun stuff where like you were like filling in character names like in sentences and anything. Like I had you played the previous one?
Yeah, yeah, played it and loved it. It's most often compared to Return of the Obra Dinn. I don't think it's quite on that
Yeah.
level, but it's just awesome to have another couple games like that. This one is it makes some changes that I think are really smart, that really help you to, like, intuit things yourself instead of having them be revealed, but it's also a little bit convoluted. It's definitely a tricky game that I could not have finished on my own. Yeah, cool shit though. Very cool.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I don't do that many puzzle games, but it does sound like a good one to do with like a partner. There's so much stuff about a lot of games that are like kind of baked in like assumed experience of like how you know what I this is like a thing that people have talked about in like games academia and whatever like just like how to move around and like oh yeah you dodge roll and then da 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 like these are things that like make sense if you were playing these sorts of like action or shooter or whatever games
Yeah,
for
like
like
conventions.
yeah for like a certain amount of time but otherwise are completely foreign but I feel like there is a degree to which puzzle games are kind of just like yeah you're solving a puzzle bro you don't have to you know what I mean you're not like well if you play Dark Souls you know that if you parry this then blah 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 you know what I mean it's just like yeah you're thinking.
It's true. It's nice. I mean, because clarity is like more important in puzzle games than in anything else,
Hmm.
I think that sort of forces them to really spell it out without spelling it out for you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hey, you were playing Tunic, weren't you?
Tunic. Yeah, I did finish Tunic.
Yo, cool. You did all the translation stuff?
No, I did end up finishing the game without really translating much. I'm not gonna
What?
lie.
I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah, it's funny. I was doing it and I was like, how the fuck did Leland? Because I feel like I was looking at some of it and I was like, I'm not becoming a linguist. Tunic, for those who aren't familiar, I forget if we talked about it last time, is like it's kind of like a Zelda-y Dark Souls, and then as you play through the game, you find pieces of the manual of the game itself, and it's all written in a made-up language. It feels very much like trying to recreate, like, if you're a kid and you're playing your brother's hand-me-down Zelda game that's, like,
Yeah.
imported from Japan, you know?
Yeah, totally.
There was a point where I was playing it where I thought it was doing something really cool of like setting up this narrative of this like very kind of nostalgic video game thing and like presenting it as kind of a lie, which isn't what it really ended up doing, which is too bad. We won't spend this isn't the Tunic cast, but overall still really fun game. I had a good time with it. But yeah, I was kind of just like I'm curious what you ended up explicitly translating.
The whole manual, dude, and the
Whoa, oh my god.
yeah, and I mean they're because if you just like figure out essentially how the script works, you
Yeah.
could just do it, you know? We just
Damn.
this was our previous like COVID game actually as
Uh-huh.
our brains were like boiling in our skulls. Yeah, you can just we just wrote out the entire manual by hand pretty much. And there are puzzles that I'm sure you
Wow.
didn't even like discover without doing
Oh,
that.
absolutely. I definitely hit a point where like kind of I beat the boss and they was like, "Oh, you can do more puzzles." And I was like, "I'm just going to start looking stuff up at this point."
Uh
Cuz I was like, I beat the game and I didn't want to sit down and spend my time trying to translate a thing. I just knew that I would just frustrate myself. So I was like,
oh,
"All right, I
sure.
I beat the game. Now I'll look stuff up." So I do have an understanding of that, but it's very funny to me because I was just like, "Okay, yeah, you're kind of telling me to go here and do that thing in a way that felt like I could intuit the sense of it, and that felt to
Yeah.
me much easier than actually like Rosetta Stoning the language. But I think that's very funny. I don't know. I think that's fun as like different ways to, that I was like, I'll just kind of figure it out as I go. And you were like, no, it's time to decode this language.
Well, it happens it is, like, maybe the last thing you do before the final boss fight. You finally
Mm-hmm.
have the information you need.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
there's, like, an optional page of the manual that is essentially a, like, "Here's how this language works" page, if I
Ah,
remember.
okay. Yeah. That's
Damn.
fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. You know, I think it works on its own, like, the gameplay is fun,
Mm-hmm.
but if you decode it, it's sort of Lynch adjacent thing of, like, "Hey, isn't it fucked up
Mm.
to play a video game?"
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I had fun with Tunic. But listen, should we talk about Twin Peaks?
I mean,
Because this episode's a
probably.
doozy.
Yeah, holy shit, this is a big
Yeah,
boy.
this is a big boy. Shall we log, lady?
Yeah. Let's get into it by all means.
So now the sadness comes, the revelation. There is a depression after an answer is given. It was almost fun not knowing. Yes, now we know. At least we know what we sought in the beginning. But there is still the question, why? And this question will go on and on until the final answer comes. Then the knowing is so full, there is no room for questions.
There's a lot in this one. Does anything jump out at you?
It's funny. I'm like, on the one hand, it feels very hello, it is David Lynch here. This is what we've been talking about the whole time, right? In terms of like, well, we had to tell you who the killer is. That's I'm not that like I'm there is like a sadness there, and like David Lynch's sense of like something being that is core to Twin Peaks being that it has a mystery to pull it forwards,
Yeah, totally.
And it feels like at the end there's like the there's still the question why, and this question will go on and on until a final answer comes. Kind of feels like but don't stop watching.
Definitely. Which is funny because the only people who were intended to see this were ones who had like already purchased the series.
Was it only on DVDs? I think it was the syndicated re-airing on the Bravo networks. This was like when it was syndicated. Yeah.
Oh yeah, my bad. True. Okay, the depression after an answer is given kind of works in two ways. So this episode in general, there were moments of like, for lack of a better word, mania in the past couple episodes, and this one is sort of the like it is wearing off. There's just like a weight to it, right? You see it from the first scene when everyone's just like so fucking taxed, That's the first level, but then also at the very end of the episode, it is resolved for the detectives exactly what has happened, and we return to essentially a second version of the same scene, like same location, it looks the same characters, and again, they were just like, "Well, what the fuck do we do with this?"
Whoa, like it all comes full circle, like a ring.
Oh, dude, I like that.
Whoa.
Cool. Okay, it was almost fun not knowing. I'm not sure about that one. Not knowing is why people kept dying. It feels like this episode is concerned with like the cops' sort of fulfillment in doing their job and how that actually has very little to do with protecting anyone.
Yeah.
So maybe the mystery was fun for them, but it was not fun for the people of the town that it was still a mystery,
It's interesting because like I definitely just like hear this one and I'm like, yeah, this feels like the most directly speaking to like the production circumstances like of the show.
I like that though. Yeah,
this like David Lynch has talked about this is like a very common read is like, yeah, David Lynch didn't want to reveal the killer. He was strong-armed into it and left the show afterwards, and like he was a big believer that like for all of the kind of circuitous little side plots and everything to work, it had to have the tension of like who's the killer like running through it. We talked a bit about this last episode. I don't know, it's interesting to think about that because that's all very like in our universe. It's interesting to think about that as like, how does that desire translate into the characters in the show? Like we talked about Dale feeling like he is more interested in the chase as an activity than in finding the killer,
Totally.
And I don't know, there is something there about like the way that for either the cops or the town in general, like again, the way the town is kind of like fueled by this mystery, like both like fictionally having the mystery is what fuels our interest in all of the town's little side stories.
Yes.
And also there is a degree to which like in the universe of Twin Peaks, like that translates into these characters being like feeding off of this violence and this mystery in some way. Like there was a real sense of that in the roadhouse scene of like the town has some kind of like aesthetic ritual relationship to this. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because like I had not thought about it at all as you're in what you were saying about like it's fun not knowing, but like, yeah, what does that like? How does that translate into the like characters themselves like wanting to not know if we think about it as just like there are people in this town and there's like horrible like sexual violence and murder happening, there's fun not knowing is a much more dire thing to say and believe, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, shall I do my recap?
Please.
It's another big episode. It starts with Dale announcing he will find the killer today, and the boys telling him to do a vision quest about it, as they all turn to the camera and say what the episode will be. He investigates the mysterious Mrs. Tremond with Donna's help, but it turns out she maybe never existed. But the new Mrs. Tremond gives him a page of Laura's diary, wherein she foresaw her death after having the same dream Dale had way back in episode 2. Inspired by this, Dale talks to Mike, who reminds him of his ring that he gave to the giant. This inspires him to gather all the men in town at the roadhouse, including Leland, who would have gotten away with killing Donna if it weren't for that meddling Coop. At the roadhouse, the Giant-attendant waiter guy shows up and gives him the final gum clue he needs to remember the part of the dream where Laura told him that her father killed her. Coop then pulls off the lawyer's gambit to get Leland in jail cell, where Leland immediately goes full Bob sicko mode, Laura dumps, and then kills himself / is killed by Bob. He's wet when he dies because of Dick Tremaine's gay-ass smoking habit. Finally, the boys ruminate on how the patriarchy is messed up, man, and how maybe Bob is an owl now. Don't worry, though, we had some time for B-plot. James proposes to Donna, but then rides off into the sunset to chase his true dream of sulking about women forever. And Lucy is keeping the baby and has a father competition planned for Dick and Andy. And Catherine reveals herself to certified foot freak Ben Horn, who signs everything away to her for another chance at those toes.
Love that.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think of this episode? How's it land for you?
There's a lot of fascinating stuff. I'm trying to put my finger on it. There's like a bit of a light haze over this episode or something. It feels like something feels different in a way I can't quite pin down. And that I really like. I like the philosophical questions that it is very openly asking, although like I will argue a little bit clumsily. Like the big climactic scene is unfortunately not my favorite, but overall, I would say very interesting to see this stuff finally resolve. I mean, certainly some like all-timer moments in this one.
Yeah, I know for me, like the thing that feels different is just like the pacing is so different and like has been the past couple episodes, but this one is really like, it almost feels like it's closer to like an X-Files episode than a Twin Peaks episode. You know what I mean? And that it's very like, here's the mystery, here's the thing we're going to find out by the end of the episode. We are progressing along to it, even though the kind of, you know, logical connections between them are not entirely solid, you know. I had so much less B-plot to say than like nearly every other episode of Twin Peaks that we've watched. It's only kind of bouncing a little bit between this stuff because it really the way it feels for me is like you know, that they had a like David Lynch's kind of like outline of stuff that could happen over the next 10 episodes in terms of the investigation and put it all in one, you know.
Weird choice. Like the Mrs. Tremond thing, for example, that's like that's like such a short scene that feels like it should be important. I don't know.
I think it is like a product of the fact of like the network pressure to reveal the killer. I think there was really a sense of like, we gotta wrap this up, you know?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, thinking about it, after the last 2 episodes, I don't know what they could have done differently in this one.
Yeah.
I guess it could be interesting to see the detectives continue to not know a little longer. See what that looks like. Especially with like Donna entering peril in this episode.
This episode and the 2 before it really feel to me like a kind of combined entity of like, you know, this is the network saying, okay, boys, ratings are dwindling, people are complaining that we haven't found out the answer to this mystery, you got to do it. And I'm going, okay, how do we do this? And like, you know, figuring that out over these 3 episodes. And like, this one is definitely the like, okay, and now we are going to do away with like Leland and Bob and stuff and just like putting everything into one episode that can actually make that happen, you know?
This episode really shines for me is like revealing some with a surprisingly like delicate touch, just like real shortcomings of some characters we really love. Like
Hmm.
Dale looks worse in this episode than maybe any other.
Hmm.
I have in the past like struggled to be critical of the show because I've just been like enjoying it so much, you know?
Hmm.
But this is one where I'm like, oh, you fucker, you're messing this up right now. And I appreciate that it's getting easier for me to see
Hmm.
his shortcomings.
When you say critical, like, do you mean critical of the show on like a I think the show is poorly doing this level, or critical of Dale in like a this character is not doing a good job in the universe level?
I guess both. I mean, Dale is just so damn
Yeah.
likable often that
Yeah.
it has sort of felt like the moments he is awesome and the moments he is kind of shitty have nothing to do with each other. Here,
Hmm.
it feels like, oh, his core motivations might be flawed, and that might
Tell
color
me more.
everything. Yeah, I think honestly, I think I will get into this pretty early in the episode, the
Okay.
scene outside Harold's place. So maybe we just start rolling.
Sure. My other little notes. This is just written by Mark Frost and Harley Payton and Robert Engels, who have written a bunch of stuff, and is directed by Tim Hunter, who previously directed episode 4, The One-Armed Man.
Word.
But so yeah, let's just jump right in.
Yeah, dude.
So first off, we get there is just one thing in the credits itself when we just Piper Laurie as Tajimura and Catherine Martell is such a cursed image. So yeah, we start with like we see Madeline's dead body, her face wrapped in plastic again, and then we have like the four boys. We have Albert, Cooper, Harry, and Hawk kind of like they're kind of like walking along. They really give them this kind of like epic little slow walk. We get this like zoom in on a tree with like this bird song, and there are these like at first I was like, is it because it's dead pine needles? But I don't know. There's this big zoom, uh, and then the boys are talking. Okay, I'm just gonna say right now, they're at a Dutch angle. There were so many Dutch ankles in this scene. I gotta
Yes.
say, unless this is one where it's like, you know, I think like it was after this episode that David Lynch kind of like washed his hands of things. But that one wiki editor who said that Dutch angle was only ever used in that one episode was so full of shit.
It's so far
So
off.
funny.
Ah.
So we're getting some clues. Let's see. We hear, yeah, Maddie was murdered as the same person who killed Laura. There was an O under Maddie's ring finger, and that she had strands of fur that was like a white fox fur held in her right hand. At first, Harry's like, I'll call, you know, the Palmers, and Coop says, no, give me 24 hours. I'm going to finish this. Albert gives him a, like, you know, you go on whatever, let me find the lines exactly. He says, go on whatever vision quest you require, stand on the rim of the volcano, stand alone and do your dance. Just find this beast before he takes another bite. Kind of a like, man, there's some crazy shit going on, and I think, Coop, you got to do your spirit shit if we're going to catch it.
Yeah, which he immediately says like something to the effect of, I have no idea how to do that.
Yeah, we then get Hawk having a like the show having Hawk be here to give his indigenous spiritual wisdom, where he says, "You're on the path. You don't need to know where it leads. Just follow." Once again, every time the show kind of deploys Hawk in this way, it's kind of corny. But yeah, so tell me your thoughts on this scene, Lily.
Sure. So the very first shot in the scene, if I am correct, is Maddie's like face in the
Yeah.
like wrapped in plastic. She's dead. So right at the start, you're like, hello, this is a show about women being murdered. Don't forget. And then we immediately cut to its effects on these four men.
Yes. This is definitely an episode about that for sure.
Yeah. And I don't think it's uncritical of that. But there's this unfortunate thing of like when you want to talk about the afflicted, but the afflicted are dead, how exactly can you speak to like their experience? How can you foreground them? You can't. And that's part of why murder is awful, because you can't do things anymore. The thing that I was saying about like this weird, like, I'm still looking for the word, like it's like it has a like a sheer veil over the episode or something. The music is like very potent and loud, and it just feels like, yeah, with the Dutch angles and everything, people are sort of in this like dreamy state that continues into the next scene in a way that I love.
So I'm curious, like, what is there stuff in this that feels like that you are like, I know it is doing the like we are getting the a lot of like how it lands for boys, but I'm curious for you if there's things here so far that are really like fuck you, Dale Cooper. You know what I mean?
Well, it's frustrating to me that he is finally given the full trust that he has
Mm,
wanted, and his immediate reaction is like, "I don't know what to do with this." Like,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you should, motherfucker. Like, people keep dying. And he continues to sort of, I think, fail the town and the case throughout this episode. That's frustrating to me that he's not really up for the task.
I kind of want to ask you to jump ahead. Like, I know we'll get there, but like, I'm curious because on the one level, this is an episode in which he like does connect with the spirits and catches the killer and whatever. But I not to say that I disagree with you, but yeah, but tell me like what to you feel like the instances throughout of him failing the town and like failing to kind of do his duty.
Sure. So he does nothing to protect Donna in this episode, even though he
Mm,
knows that her friend has just been murdered.
yeah.
He like orders Ben to be set loose, even though he knows that he is like doing some form of human trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot prevent Leland from dying at the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like when you first raised the question to me, like, is he a good detective? I was like, of course, that's my buddy.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But now I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I think almost I wasn't as tuned into that. Like, I've been the one who kind of I've been watching this on like being critical of Dale Watch,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
think like I wasn't even as it is true that he is like continuing, and I wasn't even as clued into that. I think watching this, like he does kind of get there, but it's very like he gets there because the whole thing of him attuning with the spirits at this point, the spirits do feel very much like the people making and or watching the show, in that he finds the killer because the writers wrote him into finding the killer.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, he is still very much being very lax in some ways, and like I think on a mundane level engaging in a level of like like laxity that is part of what allows this violence to happen. But yeah,
Completely.
did you I guess to actually keep us still going, did you have more on this, or shall we go to the diner?
I think let's go to the diner because it feels like a very connected
Yeah.
scene to me. I would love
Yeah.
to take this one.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so essentially Donna is like sitting alone at I like what we come to understand as the diner, but it was not immediately clear to me because everything
Yeah, same.
around her is like engulfed in darkness,
Mm-hmm.
and she's looking out a window, which like is not something that I can really place in the geometry of the diner.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And the best like genius bit of production design, but the red tablecloth is just so crazy reflective that like everything is
Mm.
cast in this red light. So what I have in my notes is that this feels like an alternate dimension version of the diner.
Yeah.
And what follows somewhat like makes me feel more confident in that, which is that
Hmm.
James shows up and is like, sorry I was late. I went for a ride this morning. God, the engine sounded like 1,000 people singing.
Hmm.
And then from there, they just go into this whole conversation that feels like it exists in that fantasy world that they had in the first few episodes of
Hmm.
this show of like, oh, we have a timeless romance between
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, yeah,
Even
yeah.
like singing, as James said.
Uh-huh.
Like
Uh-huh.
that's so retro. So what follows here is Donna says, what were they singing about? James says, what do you think? Donna says, last night? I could sing about last night. They're speaking in like a way that is like attuned to higher frequencies or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It just feels more spiritual than they usually are.
Yeah. And it's also I'm like, what happened last night?
Yeah, I was trying to remember because we haven't recorded in a while. So like yeah, what the fuck happened last night? Maybe we can go look at our recap.
Yeah, the last episode they were not like literally all we saw of them was they came to say goodbye to Maddie, and Leland was like, oh well, she's not there, you know. And I don't know if this is supposed to be the same day as the last episode. Probably not, because they wouldn't know. It's the next day because they found the body at nighttime.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, is she talking about the roadhouse scene? Which is another, also, like, if we didn't see these two last episode, I'm really struck by how much that roadhouse scene was like a dream that the town had and no one remembers it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, Donna's not like, oh, remember when we were, you know, there, and I started sobbing hysterically. Because there was such a sense in that episode of like everyone gathered there, like feeling this like psychic collective grief.
Yeah.
And then they are just in like total, it's like it never happened. It's like it was literally a dream, you know?
Totally, dude. What the fuck is up with that? Yeah. Anyway, so there's a little more to this scene, which is that James like pulls out a little box that has a ring in it, a ring that at least looks exactly like a wedding ring and is placed on her left ring finger.
I think this is definitely what that's supposed to be, right?
But he doesn't say, "Will you marry me?" They don't talk about like
he is like, I think we should be together all the time.
That's true. Okay, yes, I fucking love that line. That is such like that is meaningfully different from together forever. Together all the time is what Leland and Bob do. It's what Philip and Mike do. It's let's inhabit the same body. It's not let's like be in a relationship for 50 years.
Yeah, ring imagery. I'd like forgot all about this scene because like there's Twin Peaks has a lot to say about rings, and it's only getting started.
Really?
But like,
Okay.
oh yeah. I honestly like don't entirely know what to make of it. I should like look up and see if people have like analysis of this, but it definitely, at the very least, is really echoing, you know, everything we get about the ring from Mike and with Dale's ring and everything later on. You know, they talk about like this perfect relationship, this appetite and consumption. I don't know. It is like interesting to map that onto this here with these two, you know? Yeah, it is unclear. I'm not entirely sure what to make of it.
No, but I agree. Let's continue to ponder.
Yeah. It really does feel like an alternate universe like diner, because like it took me like a minute to even realize that it was supposed to be the diner. I think literally until like the next scene later when Donna is interacting with Andy. And I'm like, wait, were they at the diner? Because yeah, it's like from a different angle. It's all unlit.
There's no background noise at all.
Yeah. It is like completely like we've never seen it before.
Little pocket dimension. One other little thing happens in the scene. When James pulls out the ring and like slides it onto her finger, he says, "I didn't know what size to get." And the girl at the jewelry store had these really big hands.
Yeah. So funny.
Ooh, I have a call John about this.
Okay, please.
Should I save it? Should I save it for next time?
No, I want to hear the shot. I'm curious.
Okay, so one of the things that I know about this show is that at some point David Duchovny plays a trans woman.
You think that James has a David Duchovny transgender romance at the jewelry store?
Not quite. Okay, I will reiterate this and maybe polish this at the end of the episode. But what if David Duchovny's character is undercover at like trying to investigate One-Eyed Jacks, working at the department store?
I love it.
There's a little Lily idea. Put that in your brain.
Yeah, put that in your brain and smoke it.
Yeah, that's all. Anyway, shall I take the next one?
Yeah, by all means.
Okay, so what I was saying about the like veil cast over this episode immediately goes away when we get like an artful Dutch angle of Norma's mom tasting the omelet that Norma made her, and then just spitting it out and going bleh.
It's so funny. I forgot to jot this down in my recap.
Yeah. They have a little squabble about like, "Mom, you never praised me for anything." Starting to understand a little bit more why Norma has like a difficult relationship with her mom. But the real meat of this is that Andy is sitting alone at the counter at the diner, repeating to himself, "J'ai un ami solitaire." At which point Donna and James come into frame and they're like, "What are you saying? What is this?" Because of course, this is something that Donna heard David Lynch's son say. Like canonically so Mrs. Tremond's grandson. I think like last season, or maybe at the very start of the season.
It was a while back for sure.
Yeah, J'ai un âme solitaire. I'm a lonely soul, which, as we know, is also in Harold Smith's suicide
Yeah.
note.
Yeah, it was the entirety of his suicide note, I believe.
Right, right. So Donna's like, oh shit, I gotta go find Dale. And she leaves. And then Andy's just like left alone, saying it to himself.
It's funny, when he started saying it, I forgot that it would make sense for him to just know about it because he saw the suicide note or would have heard about it. In my mind, I was like, whoa, did he has he also psychically received this sentence or whatever? I
Yeah,
also do
same.
want to have a little Quebecois moment.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's like he's saying j'ai un ami solitaire, which is like, I have a lonely friend.
It's an
Right?
interesting difference. Yeah. And he says it right a couple times and wrong a couple times.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where I genuinely can't tell if this is like intentional or if this is like, actor reading a French sentence and getting it either way. But it is in the episode either way. And do you have any thoughts on like what it would be to have a lonely soul versus to have a lonely friend?
Sadie, I love you because you're always trying to help me along. You're like, hey, I want to hear what you think of this. It makes me feel very encouraged. In this case,
Yeah.
I think that a friend and a soul are two essentially unrelated things. So I don't know. I'm thinking more about lonely souls in general, obviously. I am beginning to wonder whether Harold might have been some sort of a spirit, Like it's interesting that he couldn't go outside. That feels vampiric, right? That
Well,
feels like
that's
not.
yeah, like he had all these vibes. And even like if it's like I have a lonely friend, then it's like he was kind of a lonely friend. And also Laura was a lonely friend to him. And also like the idea of, I have a lonely friend is like kind of a paradox, but like kind of contradicts itself. But also like I think, Donna and James and like Donna and Laura and Harold are all people who are friends, but are fundamentally like their friendship does not stop them from being isolated and being alone. And like I think these are relationships that are kind of defined by their like incapacity or difficulty to like actually connect through their friendships,
Damn, that's really true. Yeah, Maddie as well. Like the dynamic trio of investigators were all sort of just like looking through each other the entire time they were working together.
And it's funny because this is another one that is kind of like a connection that feels very contrived in order to go get like find a context in which Dale can get a page of Laura's diary that details the dream, But I think like it would be easy to just like dismiss it as that. I think that is why all this is happening in this way. Like, even like the fact that the very next scene she's like, okay, Dale, here we are. Like Twin Peaks does not move that fast,
Yeah, you're right.
But I think there is something there about like, yeah, the role of the spirits as being like standing in for the people who are making the show and sometimes like consuming the show. Like I think that there is really something there, like, like we've talked about in the past about like the kind of consumption of violence, blah, 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 blah. But the fact that the spirits are just like happen to be pointing them in the right direction is contrived because the spirits are the writers and need to point them in that direction to make this episode happen,
Yeah, okay. I have one alternate interpretation of Ami Solitaire. And this is a less fun one, but it seems decently likely. I don't think anyone working on the show is francophone.
Oh, sure.
And I think that it's possible that in one take he was saying ami, and then in another take he was saying because he had been corrected. But like the first take was just the better one, and the editor didn't really notice the difference.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's the thing. I think this is the kind of thing where I'm like, there's a world in which this is intentional. I think it's fun to read into it just because it's what's in the show for us to watch. But I think it is a very strong chance that this was just a like production issue like that. And as we know, the show has shown its
francophobia.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so then they basically rush straight to Mrs. Tremond's house. Do you want this one too?
Yeah. All right. So Donna has successfully rallied Dale Cooper and Andy to like come check out Mrs. Tremond's whole situation. Donna relays like, I met this old woman and her grandson said this to me. Isn't that so crazy? And then they knock, and when she answers, Mrs. Tremond is just like a different person. She is maybe 20 or 30 years younger. Her hair
Mm-hmm.
is different. She's like portrayed by a different actor,
Yeah.
and says like, I don't have any children, so I don't know who that child could have been, and my mom has been dead for 3 years, so you didn't meet my mom.
Yeah. And like the interior of the apartment is completely different too. I did just write like this queen. Like everything is these really garish like prints, and these
Yeah,
got crazy
yeah.
sunglasses, like big patterns. She's shopping at fucking Dan Flashes or whatever that's called, you know?
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, she addresses how like we thought people in the 80s dressed in the 2010s, if that makes
Oh,
sense. She's dressing like Stranger Things cast member.
yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, okay. So like yeah, she's absolutely serving. The color coordination in her outfit is excellent. Like the blouse matches the lipstick, the earrings match the shirt underneath.
Hmm.
Killer. However, it does make me think that she is some sort of evil spirit. Gives evil spirit vibes. I feel like the show has a very like fashion sense and color palette a lot of the time.
Mm.
And this is like the kind of tacky break from it that I don't think we've seen yet.
Yeah.
So it makes
Yeah.
me definitely suspicious.
Except for Jacoby.
Oh, true. And that guy's totally legit. So
I want to shout out when they're like walking up. I think I just love this as like a TV show dialogue that is just kind of to say like, okay, viewer, don't worry about it.
Mhm.
When Donna's like, yeah, oh, she had a grandson. Mrs. Tremond told this to me. Those same words on Harold Smith's suicide note. Dale says, well, maybe the boy said the same thing to Harold. And Donna says, no, Harold's world was in his words. The suicide note has to be a message. It all leads back here. It's just so like, okay, girl, his world was in his words, but also like, you know when you just have a character say the suicide note has to be a message, it all leads back here. So the audience watching it can be like, oh, it has to be a message. It leads here. Okay, I get it. I've suspended my disbelief, you know?
That's so true. Oh, that's great. When Dale realizes like, oh, this is some confusing misunderstanding, he's like, Donna, we better get going. And Mrs. Tremond, quote unquote, mystery Mrs. Tremond is like, oh, Donna, I have a letter for you. I found it in my mailbox after Harold died.
Mm-hmm.
It is some of Laura's secret diary. Okay, before we take this further, how did it get in the mailbox? I thought Harold didn't go outside.
That's a good point.
I just have to wonder.
Damn, I didn't even think about that. Because at first I was like, yeah, he said this is for Donna. Here's the thing, right? He's already freaking out. He's ripping his place up. Donna and James like escaped and then made out and then ran off. And he's like, okay, I'm already all fucked up. He sprints like, because they're just like across the little kind of like path between their houses. He just sprints, drops into the mailbox, gets back to his place, then hangs himself, I guess.
Ooh, I gotta do one quick errand first.
Yeah, he like does it before the being outside makes him pass out. But yeah, that is really funny.
I don't know, like I'm not calling plot hole or anything. I wouldn't be surprised if this does make sense in some way, but it's kind of funny.
I also love her being like, I meant to turn it in. Is such a like, don't like. It's just so like, don't worry. It makes sense that this wasn't introduced earlier, when they were going through the evidence, but it's here now. It's just because she meant to turn it in but was busy. You know what I mean? This is what I mean of like this episode has a lot of contrivances like that.
Yes,
but
completely.
I think how intentional it feels makes it funny for me here,
Oh yeah, it doesn't bother me one bit. I mean, just the fact that it was delivered to her to give to Donna is like completely random and only makes
really
sense
funny.
If you consider, first of all, we need to meet this lady. Second of all, if it was found on the scene, then we would have already known about it. It's kind of great. It's kind of great.
And because we're like, oh, why did he write that sentence? Like, was it kind of the spirit kid, like, foreseeing what was going to happen, or was he influenced by them? But I'm just imagining like Harold sitting in his little shack and he's all fucked up and he's like, oh, these women, they're all sluts or whatever he was saying. And then he's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. I write a note to Donna, but it's Laura's diary. And also all of his like, there's no secrets in there in the diary. There's no clues. Meanwhile, Laura's diary, I'm going to die tonight. It's because the spirit
fuck?
Bob wants to possess me. Like,
what the fuck? Wait, yeah. What the fuck is going on there? Okay, that kind of breaks the whole Harold thing.
I mean, it's hard to say. Who knows? But it feels like when we saw Harold in those previous episodes, they didn't think that there was going to be a diary page that says, I'm Laura Palmer. I'm going to die tonight. The spirit Bob wants to possess me. You know what I mean? It feels like it has sprung into existence now because we're like, we got to wrap shit up, you know?
Yes. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's pretty likely.
But it is very funny to think about. So yeah, he's like, okay, never mind. There was a clue in the diary. I'm gonna get it to Donna, who I'm really pissed off at though. And I am killing myself because she was a slut, but to me or whatever.
Wait, but it was because she like betrayed him, right?
Yeah,
with the diary thing.
But I remember he like gave a little speech about like how she was impure or whatever. She kissed him, you know what I mean?
That's true.
So, but yeah, he's all betrayed. They're breaking in, but he's like, okay, but I do want her to get the clue that she came in to get though. So what I'm gonna do is write it, put it in an envelope with her name, give it to my next door neighbor, and then kill myself, and my suicide note will point her to that neighbor because of a sentence that the kid said in spirit mode.
He did not know that sentence was uttered, right?
Like, but don't get me wrong, we are doing CinemaSins because it's like, you know, this is all operating, you know, it's like Mike says, the truth is in the heart, not the head. Like, this is all operating on this kind of like spirit world, like, you know, metafictional logic that when you sit down and do it like this, of course it is silly, but it is silly.
Oh yeah, I mean, we got love for the show. We can
have fun.
The scene continues. The gang are walking away from Mrs. Tremond's house, and Donna notes that it's Harold's handwriting on the letter, so it's like, yeah, this is definitely legit. He's the one who put it there. There's an interesting moment that I only caught on my second watch where Dale like firmly says to Donna, open it, Donna, and puts his hand on her arm. She responds by like turning around and just like staring him down for a few seconds, and neither of them say anything. And then she acquiesces and opens it, and they start reading it. So yeah, secret diary entry reveals. Actually, do you remember what it reveals in detail?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we both note, like, do we just want to get the audio and like watch this together? Because do we want to do that right now?
Yeah, I would love that.
February 22nd. Last night I had the strangest dream. I was in a red room with a small man dressed in red and an old man sitting in a chair. I tried to talk to him. I wanted to tell him who Bob is because I thought he could help me. But my words came out slow and odd. It was frustrating trying to talk. I got up and walked to the old man. Then I leaned over and whispered the secret in his ear. Somebody has to stop Bob. Bob's only afraid of one man. He told me once. A man named Mike. I wonder if this was Mike in my dream. Even if it was only a dream, I hope he heard me. No one in the real world would believe me. February 23rd. Tonight is the night that I die. I know I have to because it's the only way to keep Bob away from me. The only way to tear him out from inside. I know he wants me. I can feel his fire. But if I die, he can't hurt me anymore.
Laura and I had the same dream.
A lot going on.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, dude.
Do you want to go first on this? Because I can have thoughts, but I'm curious for yours.
I think I'm still working through it. I guess this is all stuff that I had understood by this point to some extent. It is really cool to hear that they had the same dream. Yeah, I would actually love to hear what you think.
I think this is the first that we get, which we hear a lot about later, of the whole like Bob wanting to actually inhabit Laura. The dream thing is really interesting because it's like not only did they have the same dream, but you know, Dale had that dream several days after she died, you know, like that there was this like cross-temporal thing going on as well in this like weird dream red room place, you know? It's funny. I feel like broadly, I'm finding myself having less to say this episode because I'm like, yeah, and this is the episode where this happens. But I'm kind of trying to challenge myself to not just kind of take that for granted. And it's funny. It kind of is the effect of like what David Lynch talks about, where it's like, yeah, now that the mystery's done, I find myself going into like, I'm not in detective mode. I'm not like picking things apart, even like symbolically as much, you know, because I'm just like, yeah, this is the episode where they wrap that shit up. It is really interesting just tracking in myself like how much of an effect that has. But it's interesting because like on the one hand, yeah, it is very much like put in here. It does feel like materialized out of thin air as like something that can move this plot forwards, you know. I think like the big things for me that were like jumped out is less kind of like big what does it all mean stuff, but also just like I was also on one level, I was like, in what context did Bob ever tell Laura, like, I fear one man, it is Mike, you know? And also, I love that, like, when we get a zoom in on Dale's eye, when he's, like, recalling his dream, it feels very like his role is to observe. Even thinking about that, like, what we were talking about earlier about his, like, he's the detective, but he feels, in a lot of ways, like allergic to intervening. He's much more of a vehicle by which the plot can like draw attention to the various like plot lines happening around Twin Peaks, you know? He is much more of a detective, as in someone who like finds out where to look and then looking at it, than a detective as like intervening and stopping, you know?
It's true.
And then we get a zoom in on Donna's mouth when she's reading the second, like, you know, the tonight I'm gonna die. But yeah, on her mouth, which I was like interesting because like is her role to tell, to kiss, to consume.
Oh, dude, I like this.
Yeah.
You're bringing the poetic eye to it.
Yeah. You know, and even like, I don't know, thinking about the, obviously, like later in the episode, the scenes with her and Leland, it's almost as though like this zoom in on her mouth is like, as if like Bob is behind the camera in a way of like his hunger and like, you know, his, like we saw him when he killed Maddie have these like big, like disgusting like kisses, you know. It really struck me just as like a decision to make there. And I think this is something I was going to say earlier, but like for as much as these like this past 3 episodes are in some ways like the death of Twin Peaks up until now, like they do still have some really good sauce.
Oh yeah.
Overall. And this moment I really like quite a bit, honestly.
Yeah, so this is one of the scenes where I find myself frustrated with Dale the most. What you said about the eye versus mouth thing, I think explains it very well. Basically, like this is something that Donna is much closer to. We see her have this incredibly intense reaction. This is something that it's not happening to her, but actually it kind of does happen to her this episode. Dale makes it about him, sort of, even though like the insight that he and Laura had the same dream is obviously useful. That the fact that is the first thing he says, it's kind of cold, right? It's kind of distant. Donna, meanwhile, is having this like deeply emotional experience about like, oh my God, my friend knew she was going to die and I couldn't save her. And what does this mean?
Yeah.
And then Dale basically just like walks away and starts talking to Andy and then like leaves before either of them do.
God, that's true. I didn't even think about that. That is crazy.
Yeah. So it's shot very much like a play. Like they are all shown from like straight on front, and Dale like exits stage right. Meanwhile, Audrey is still like facing where Dale was, just clutching the letter, looking sort of unresolved. He's done nothing for her in the scene. Bitch. Yeah, he just fucking takes off and he like it's cold.
This is like I think a version of a kind of callous Dale that we've seen before, where he's just here to investigate and is not, you know, thinking even back to the pilot and like the first couple episodes where he was very like kind of just walking over the human tragedy of it to find the tasty clues, you know?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Because even like on the one level, like, yeah, she goes off and then like, you know, is distraught and just kind of like is wandering along the road until like James like they just kind of meet each other because James is just biking around, I guess, or maybe they, like she's just like wanders off. Yeah, I mean, also he knows that the killer is still on the loose, and like he does literally leave her to just end up in Leland's clutches,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's the thing. It feels like there are several opportunities to break the cycle of violence here that Dale just repeatedly fails to rise to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, even in the very next scene.
Yeah. My final note from this one is I love when Dale's just like, we had the same dream, and Andy just goes, but that's impossible. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah. Okay, but Dale's retort to that is great. Doesn't he say like, yes, it is?
Yeah.
That's kind of epic. I'm not gonna lie.
It's really funny. Yeah, he's like, okay, who else was in my dream? Mike, Philip Gerard. He's gonna go find him. So they go find him where he's still being kept at the Great Northern under vague detainment. He gets there. The doc is all like, hey, man, you got to give him his medicine. He might die. And like you said in your notes, Dale kind of doesn't give a fuck. He's like, I need to get information out of this spirit before we give him his life-saving medicine, which also stops the spirit from being there. He's really like, we had the dream. I need to unlock it. I need the answer that's inside of me. It's really interesting how like the whole thing of him being told, like, I know like who killed Laura Palmer in his dream and then forgetting it the next morning was like introduced as like a comedy beat and is now like fully serious. This is like really driving it,
Yeah.
Also that he like forgot it and then was like, well, we can do all this other investigating, but now is like, no, the actual answer is to do some process to remember what it was that was in my dream. Mike's answer to this sort of is that he says, Bob and I, when we were killing together, there was this perfect relationship, appetite, satisfaction, a golden circle, which makes Coop go, oh my God, the ring, my ring. I gave my ring to the giant. Mike says he's known to us here. He's as real as I. He can help you find Bob, but you must ask him first. And that, you have all the clues you need. The answer is not here, my friend, as he like taps his forehead. It's here, and he touches his heart. He's like, oh, so much responsibility. This is another one which is very like Twin Peaks of up until 2 episodes ago would have doled out these little clue scenes over like an episode or 2 each, and now it's just bang, 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 bang. Yeah. And it was very funny doing the recap, because it really is just like Donna tells him that she thinks that there's something at Mrs. Tremond's because of hearing Andy say something. He goes there and it reminds him to talk to Mike, and Mike reminds him of the giant because of his ring.
There's so much plot.
But it's also like, it's playing it as if he's like, oh yeah, I'm getting this clue. He's following the breadcrumb trail. But the breadcrumb trail is just like...
Breadcrumb trail. Sorry.
We have fun. No, but like this trail, there's no actual like logical causal connection from one thing to the next. He's just like, oh yeah, I should talk to Mike. And then Mike reminds him of the giant because he's like, Mike, what's the clue to my dream? And he's like, Mike doesn't even answer what's the clue to his dream. He's just like, we had a perfect circle, like a ring. And he goes, oh my God, a ring. Where's the giant? And then somehow that gives him the idea to gather all the men in town at the roadhouse, which happens later. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's going through all the plot beats of like a police procedural episode. Like it's an X-Files, it's a whatever CSI, like it's one of these, he's investigating, but it's not like he is finding clues that really reveal where to go next. It's all just this association that only makes sense because it's written that way. That feels intentional.
Well, I guess he's always worked very intuitively.
Yes.
So he's like, this is just him making the connections that he maybe should have a while ago.
Yeah.
But you're right that it's not like a rational process.
We do get kind of okay, actually, let's finish this scene before we move on to the next one, because I want to talk about this. Because this, I have like big thematic thoughts about. There's one thing, honestly, I was looking through some of the previous Log Ladies. Do you remember the Log Lady episode for Lonely Souls? She says, as the night wind blows, the boughs move to and fro, the rustling, the magic rustling that brings on the dark dream. The dream of suffering and pain. Pain for the victim, pain for the inflictor of pain. A circle of pain. A circle of suffering.
Dude,
a golden circle.
That.
Yeah, right?
A golden circle.
I had a lot
Wow.
of fun going through the list of the log lady stuff and being like, oh, I'm gonna put that here, and Lee's gonna go fuck.
You got me good there, dude. Okay, I also want to mention that there is more whole talk later with Bob saying that or that Leland is like a regular man with a gaping hole in his moral center or something.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that'll be a whole scene. But yeah, I don't know. I think like
Whole
on the
scene.
one hand, this is a real food consumption violence alert moment for me of this like appetite
it's an
and satisfaction. A perfect onion ring. But you know, like he describes this as appetite and satisfaction, a golden circle, you know?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
I'm also really thinking about this consumption as like if these spirits are metafictional on some level, like they are, you know, I'm sure I said this in a past episode and it's kind of a very on the nose read, but it's like, yeah, it's like we are watching the TV show and we are consuming their violence, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, connecting to the wedding ring. Also, I'm like, his whole, like, the answer isn't here in the head, it's in the heart. I see you have a note about that, but I'm also just like, it feels very kind of like speaking to the audience.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I think it is impressive, this episode. Like, it has some moments that are really fun, and in some level, I think an episode of Twin Peaks that is rushing through getting all the clues out is less fun than an episode of Twin Peaks, like, in season 1, you know? But it is like impressive just on a kind of like structural writing an episode of television level that they managed to make the suspension of disbelief work largely, because it is kind of like I'm saying, like the trail of clues that he's following is kind of nonsense.
And I hadn't noticed that until you mentioned it, like straight up.
Yeah, you know, like they set up enough like the answers in the heart, like enough of this stuff, and like obviously the whole show has been like, you know, building us up to follow Dale when he goes on his little adventures, you know. But it is kind of impressive that it does feel like an episode of TV in which he goes through an investigative process when that's not at all what's happening. Like, it is a very effective suspension of disbelief, you know what I mean?
Yeah, very, very much. Okay, I have a couple thoughts here. First of all, when Mike says that the giant is known to us here, where is here? What is the place that he is talking about? It has been suggested that there is some sort of discrete physical or physical-ish realm that spirits inhabit, like a different layer, you know?
Like some sort of lodge.
Yeah, but this makes me think maybe they are in a different like physical place right now, which I think, as I've already told you, will connect heavily to Lily's Nightmare Corner this week,
I'm
which I'm
very
so
excited.
fucking hype for. When Mike says that the answer is in Dale's heart, that doesn't inspire confidence for me, because it feels like that is purposely vague. It is gesturing to like a distinction that people understand intuitively and maybe could not pin down if they tried. But I don't think of Dale as an especially big-hearted guy or as someone who follows his heart. I think for him, like the mind, body, spirit distinction is something that makes a lot more sense. He's great at spirit stuff. I wouldn't call him very emotionally intelligent or kind in many cases.
I mean, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Because he is like, there are definitely moments in which because like we do see him being kind, and like when he is dealing with, like we do see moments of him like handling, I don't know, I'm thinking about like Audrey, or when we see him even like talking with Ed about his history with Nadine, like he has a certain like emotional deftness, you know. But
that's true.
And my read on him broadly is still like, you want to believe in the goodness of America, and this stops you from seeing the evil. But at the same time, he will get carried away by finding the clues in a way that feels both intellectual and spiritual, but less. And in those moments, he's very like emotionally like shut off. I don't know, like to the emotional needs of others. I don't know. It's a lot of things, but
he's doing good and intuitive detective work here, but I don't think it comes from the heart. I don't know. I think it comes from somewhere slightly different.
I think it feels like directed to the audience in the sense of saying, one, don't try to CinemaSins this episode, just follow the like intuitive sense that you get from it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it is also saying something about Twin Peaks, the show, in that on the one hand, I think there is some classic like David Lynch stuff of I always find that when he uses like surreality and stuff, there's instances in which you can pick symbols apart in a kind of like one-to-one intellectual way. And there's instances where it's just supposed to be felt, and it's about creating a like affective experience. And I think there's also something about like this whole episode's sense of the tragedy of revealing the killer for what it means for the show,
Yeah, totally.
It's actually interesting thinking about that. We may have said this before, but like, I feel like that's probably honestly partially why the instance of revealing the killer is when like Bob Leland kills Maddie, is because it needs to feel like a tragic moment. Because for David Lynch, it is tragic because it's like, oh no, this is my baby. Like my idea of this show is being killed,
Sure.
And I think like doing that via this murder that is like very horrific makes that also tragic just emotionally for people who don't have that like attachment to the version of the show, and like for the characters, like it would hit very differently if the way that the killer's revealed is for Dale to do a big epic Sherlock Holmes gather them all in the room and then be like, and it was you, Leland, before he can kill again, because that would there's something about like it happening via a tragedy reflecting the fact that it is like to some of the creators of the show feels like a tragedy on that level. I don't know, just something, but yeah, I think that there's something there about like think about this in Twin Peaks, not necessarily in a like you have to find all the literal intellectual clues and decode who the killer is or what the meaning is, but like feel it effectively. And I'm kind of always on that grind anyway, but that's kind of all my notes on this one. But do we want to there's actually another little detail here, or should we move on from this?
What is the little detail?
I'll do it leading into the next one, because he leaves the room and he sees that old waiter who we've seen kind of like attending the Giant in the past, and who we've kind of been like, yeah, this guy seems also to be like supernaturally connected in this way. Who he says, I know about you. That milk will cool down on you, but it's getting warmer now, and gives him a thumbs up in a way that feels very like, yes, you're getting warmer. You're finding the clues.
Yeah.
And there's that little intermission basically where he goes to Ben's office. Harry is there and he says that they do have a record of the phone call that Leland told them about from Ben Horne's office to the Palmer house. When he was calling about his dairy.
Oh, God. Oh, brother.
Sees the stuffed white fox, which was another moment that is interesting. I think like when it happened, like we were just kind of like, this is kind of goofy. He's just like sees a fox and like pulls some hair off of it. Another one that in the moment just felt like a comedic beat and is now being like a very like capital C clue, This is kind of a big scene in which they are like, we think Ben Horne might be the killer for real. They have the phone call. They have the white fox, which has the fur that they found on Maddie. And Albert says here that Maddie died the last night between 10 p.m. and midnight from his forensics. Harry says, yeah, we didn't take Ben until after midnight. Something that's funny, the summary here, like from the wiki, says it's albeit an apparent error, because that is like in the production notes that like technically they showed him being arrested at dusk, like because it's before they went to the log lady house when the murder happened.
Dude, right?
And that is another one of those things that I think is legible both as a just production error, it's a TV show, and as something intentional of either they are making a mistake in their police procedure, or that like there's something going on with like the dreamlike nature of that roadhouse scene, that like the writing and the structure of the TV show itself is like House of Leaves rearranging itself to like mystify the clues and to give them red herrings and to like obfuscate that roadhouse scene, which no one has mentioned at all.
That's cool.
I don't know. What do you think of all this?
I think it's cool as fuck. I don't really have much to say about the scene. I was mostly busy being confused about the whole like white fox fur thing, which you have thankfully reminded me.
Yeah, because we saw Leland like pull a tuft off of it at one point.
Yeah. I love all your metafictional stuff today.
I mean, it feels very present in all this to me. Yeah, it's like the episode where like Twin Peaks up until now is like laid to rest. And it feels like that feels very suffused with all that, you know? But yeah, this is kind of just a little short one. Do you want to take us to Babyland?
To Babyland. Oh my God, yes.
We have some goofy ones now.
Yeah. It's not all dark and dour. Okay. So we are at the police station. There's a maintenance dude who is up on a ladder tinkering with the sprinkler system.
Oh, foreshadowing. Fucking Chekhov's sprinkler.
It's actually funny how this episode is basically held together with duct tape. Like these things are just put together and made to fit, you know, in a way that mostly works. But yeah, so beneath him as he works is Lucy and Andy talking about the baby and how like I thought it was Dick's because you told me about your sperms, and the maintenance dude just looks down and gives like a little no sperms kind of face. At this point, Andy sort of barges into the office and picks up the phone and is like, I'm gonna talk to this guy. And Lucy is so excited by this. She goes like, you won't hurt him, will you,
So
Andy?
funny.
But she really wants to be like fought over
I
in that way.
know.
She's actually kind of thrilled. So when Andy picks up and gets like shy and nervous immediately, she's like, oh, brother, you know, she's like a little underwhelmed. It's funny how much I don't know, I'm thinking about that scene a while back now where she talks about how all of her desires are because of these women's magazines that she's been reading. And she seems to have like some very old school gender ideas. Like she seems
Yeah,
very
they're butch femme.
Oh, that makes it better. Yeah, she just seems like very excited about the prospect of having a traditional gender role relationship, which like if that's what you want, why are you in love with Andy? Because he's not that guy, you know?
It's so funny. Well, listen, maybe she's not in love with Andy. Maybe she's in love with Dick Tremaine.
Oh, that fucking guy. Can't wait to get back to him.
Yeah, it's funny. My first note was just, what's going on with this happening now? Because, like, you know, definitely over the last couple episodes, the extent to which they've been so, like, heavy and plot-driven have made all of the, like, moments of them finding room for B-plot feel like, wait, now we're here? In a way, that's just very funny. Nothing is
Yeah.
ever going to top the Tajimura reveal scene in between the fucking, like, horrific murder sequence, but...
Holy shit, right. Oh, some crazy tone stuff in this show,
Yeah,
huh?
but this is I mean, honestly, this is like another just anytime these two are in a scene together, I'm like, sometimes I have capital A analysis, sometimes it's just I love these two. I love the sprinkler
Yeah.
repairman reaction shots. I love him standing all poofed up on the phone. It's so funny.
Oh my god, dude. It's
And we go
great.
from there to our other big silly scene of this episode, in which, we're Ben is in his little jail cell. Tajimura shows up to, Catherine as Tajimura, here just to make Ben squirm, has the papers to like sign over Ghostwood and the mail, and it's like, now listen, if you don't, first it's like, let's sign this, and then Ben is like, oh well, I can't. He's like, well then give me my $5 million back. Ben kind of squirms for a little bit. He has some lines about like, oh, my brother, the boy genius, is looking for a better lawyer until I'm able to breathe the air that free men breathe, blah 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 blah. And during which point Catherine just extends her little pedicured toes through the bars and wiggles them, knowing, of course,
Holy
that
shit.
Benjamin would recognize her from the toes, because we have
From the toes.
this is known. It has been true that he's on those toes. She calls him a slimy rat bastard. She's gonna make his life hell. Ben is like pleading, please, tell them I was with you on the night of Laura's murder. I'll sign over everything. And like he really has, in like the same way that Pete had a like really energy of being like erotically thrilled and excited by his devilish wife. There's a real thing here too about, he's like, you want me to beg? I'll beg. She says,
Please let me
it's
beg.
so
Can I
funny.
beg,
She's like, will you
please?
sign Ghostwood of the Wheel over to me? And he says, in a heartbeat. Oh, clever disguise, Catherine. Really brilliant. Signed, sealed, and delivered. He is fueled as much by a desire to not be in prison anymore, as he is like complete like, oh, Catherine is so hot, I like the fact that she pulled this over on me now, and I have the toes, is like so thrilling to him that he is just like happy to go along with her schemes and like just get back
His
in her
brain
good.
falls
It's
out.
so funny.
Yeah, she's like, you're a little bug. I want to squish you with my foot. Suck my dick. And he's just like, Catherine, oh my God.
It's so funny.
It's a great dynamic. Catherine has a great dynamic with everyone, to be honest.
And like we've had a lot of like boo tomato with whenever Tajimura is on screen.
Yeah,
that is still true, but I think there are moments like this where it does, like this scene really works for me. Far be it from me to give Twin Peaks a yellow face pass, but yeah, I don't know. I think there are moments like this where when it's fueled by like the schemingness of the character and the way everyone just like falls in around that does work for me. It would have been better. Truly, Piper Laurie needed the Prince "you can always do an Italian accent, it's never racist" meme,
Dude, yeah. I mean, I also think the scene is a ton of fun, in large part because we are finally getting more Catherine, who's a miles better character than the Tajimura persona. Like seeing her break is fun. She's just much better as Piper Laurie is better at acting Catherine than acting Tajimura. Like even like the way her mouth moves and stuff, her mannerisms immediately change. So that works. No part of it needed to be done the way it was done. It could have been any kind of disguise. I mean, I
also love Ben has like his little stubble growing again. He hasn't been able to shave. And I love that I've also immediately lost track again of how the fuck these schemes work. Because, okay, as Tajimura, she is going to buy the mill and is giving him $5 million. But then I think, didn't she blackmail him last episode also and said like...
Yeah, so the tape recording said like, you need to sign over the mill and the Ghostwood Estates to me. I'll let you keep your precious little hotel.
Okay, because what happened to the $5 million?
So that was a check that Ben Horn gave to someone else. I can't remember who. I just assume it's a bad check.
Yeah.
Like, I just assume that $5 million does not actually exist, Yeah,
where the fuck did that $5 million go? I genuinely don't remember at all.
Didn't he oh my God, he gave it to Josie. He gave Josie the check when she was leaving.
Of course. Yeah. Because she was like, I need my part of the mill. Yeah. Okay. Yes, we did it. Yay.
We did it.
Remembering.
Mystery
We're the detectives. Oh my God. Does that mean that's going to fuck Josie over if that check is like nothing?
I've been betting on it for sure.
Yeah. But it is really funny again how Catherine has like introduced all these various pieces strictly to fuck with him,
Yeah. Oh, no, it's really delightful. Okay, so after Ben signs the documents, right? He's like, so will you tell them? Will you tell them where we were the night Laura was killed? And she's like, I'll consider it. Immediately makes it clear, like, I have no intention of doing this. Like, fuck you, rot. Not that it's gonna matter by the end of this episode, but it's just an awesome betrayal, and he freaks out. Like, he wigs out, right? He starts banging on the bars. He goes, Catherine. But the best detail is that he reaches inside his like suit pocket and he grabs a handkerchief and he looks at it for a second and he's like, can this help me? And he's like, no, probably not.
So funny. I want to try to find this now.
Yeah. It's just so like funny. Fidgeting with it.
Oh, that's so funny.
I fucking love that. Just pure panic.
God, that's so good. Do we want to go to Tales from the Log?
Let's do Tales from the Log.
All right.
Yeah, before the next scene of horror.
Yeah, for real. Well. So, characters that are not in this episode. We don't see Shelley. We don't see Audrey. And we don't see Pete Martell. Does any of those jump out to you?
I think we've done a Pete one already.
Yeah.
I think we might have also done a Shelley one. I'm definitely curious where Audrey's at.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we haven't seen Sarah Palmer. We haven't seen Nadine.
True.
I would give Audrey a shot.
Yeah, because the last time we saw Audrey was the end of the last episode when she was like, by the way, Dale, I'm still a virgin, but then Dale had to run off to do the plot. Do you have thoughts on what Audrey's up to?
She's realizing she never like formally quit at the perfume counter.
Oh, the perfume counter is so funny.
So she's actually kicking it with her homegirl, female David Duchovny today.
Oh, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Who's also there. They're just queening out. They're trading different tips for like scheming and conniving. You got anything to yes and me with?
I mean, yeah, and listen, female David Duchovny is there. I think Audrey clocks her as an FBI agent.
And as an MTF agent.
I said clocks, I was like, oopsie, but yeah. Because like Audrey has really been like, I want to join the FBI. I want to work with Dale. I want to be. And I think that she's like, okay, Queen, train me and I'll train you. She's like, you know what I mean? She's like, listen, go a bit less heavy on the lipstick and then you tell me how to like bug blouse or whatever, you know?
Holy shit, I love that. I love that. Yeah. This is the
Love
best
it.
segment.
It's really good.
And by the way, I'm thinking like as we get into the future episodes, I think we should introduce a couple more. I think it'll happen organically, but I think we're going to need to do things to keep ourselves entertained over the next 10 episodes.
Yeah, we have like I was looking on our little break. We have like I believe 12 or 13 episodes remain in this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's most of them.
Yeah. Yeah. It is wild how much there is after this.
I'm so excited.
Hello, listeners. It's time for me to tell you to give us $3 on Patreon. Our bonus episode next coming out, or maybe out already by the time this is out. I'm not looking at the calendar. It's going to be a Vertigo. Alfred Hitchcock, all-timer. Features two characters, a Madeline something or other, and a John Ferguson, which is why Madeline Ferguson in Twin Peaks is called that. Heavily influenced Twin Peaks. So if you want to hear us talk about what an influential movie on this show we all love, you got to give us $3. Alrighty. Enjoy the episode. And we're back after a little break. Unfortunately, it's now time for Agonies.
Yeah, let's get right into Agonies. Okay. Basically, this scene, Donna is coming by the Palmer household to drop off a tape. You know that strange song that she recorded with Maddie and James on the floor that one time before horrors ensued?
Mm-hmm.
She wants to drop it with Leland so he can like mail it to Maddie. He is being very, not like over familiar, a little over familiar, and starts like, well, I don't know. We know evils are in his heart,
Uh-huh.
but even Donna seems to pick up that there is something like off about Leland right now. She wears
Yeah,
sunglasses inside as like a bit of a distancing thing.
And they're Laura's sunglasses.
Yeah, okay, which I think that is part of what gets Leland
Yeah.
raring to go and, you know, do atrocities.
It is interesting to think about that it's like she's bringing that tape, which like we've laughed about because it's every time the song plays, it is funny. But like it was like the first time that, you know, that they recorded that was when we had like, I still think one of the most like, I think upsetting Bob visions to date. There is something there that it's like her bringing this now, this, you know, very like in love is like a precedent or like a forward, you know, to this violence that just barely gets averted, you know?
It's true. I mean, it has the same hazy daisy 1950s thing that Leland is super into. Like he's always singing these like decades outdated songs. I feel like there's a bit of a link there. They talk a little bit about how Maddie's, you know, gone, but you can visit her anytime, which oh my god, that's that's just him saying,
Yeah.
hey, I'm gonna kill you now. Anyway, in the middle of this conversation, Leland gets a call from Maddie's mom telling him that she never came home. Donna begins to fear the worst. And then we get like a little cut to commercial. Am I right?
Yeah. There's like a couple things in this scene. One, it's like Donna starts talking about, you know, the diary and says like, you know, like I wish I could have known what was in it. And like, it really is kind of crazy that she did all that to like not even read the diary at all. You know what I mean?
Wait, did she not read the diary?
No, because that's the thing is like right when she was gonna run out, I think like Harold took it from her. That's why he like was, ripped it up and then like was able to put a page from it in Mrs. Tremond's
Right.
mailbox,
Right.
Because yeah, I think this is when Leland finds out like, oh yeah, the police did find the secret diary.
That is true. That's true.
Yeah, it's like we get this like real like very foreboding like throughout the living room. We like where we see the record player in the background, or maybe that's at the end, but he does like get out some gum and he's like, oh, why don't I get you some lemonade? And I saw that we both made a note here where like there's some really great shots of when he's on the phone. I think he's like Donna gets upset about Maddie being missing. And he says, oh, don't worry about a thing. I'll get us some lemonade and we'll sit down and give it a think and work the problem out together. And I see we both made the same note that was like, at first and all that, the shot kind of has him next to, he's standing at the mirror that, is the mirror where we've had the big like Bob reveal. And the shot is like not including his reflection, like very pointedly, like just.
Yeah.
And that was great. I love the like, we know that in there is Bob, but the shot is keeping it like just out of reach. And then it does like, I see, yeah, your note is just what a waste. Because then as it does the like cut to commercial, he's like, yeah, we'll work the problem out. Big epic pause together as the camera pans as we see like Bob
It is
in the
actually
mirror.
Bob. Yeah, when like we knew that.
Yeah, I think what works about the tension and horror of all of these Leland Bob scenes is how like otherworldly it feels by virtue of being so different in vocabulary, like Twin Peaks is normal kind of TV cinematography vocabulary, right? Like that's what makes the Maddie murder scene hit so hard, is that it is shot in ways that nothing else in the show has been, except for the like little peaks of nightmarishness. And like, but even then it's like really unique and it just feels like another world has entered. And I think this feels too like, we'll deal with it together, epic pan. Like that's just like how you do hour-long TV drama cut to commercial in a way that just kind of deflates it for how much it's using the same vocabulary,
I agree. I know this episode is very well regarded, but I am definitely already feeling the absence of David Lynch, to be honest with you. I think this shot also sort of undermines like a theme that emerges later in this episode, which is like in the very last scene, the cops have this conversation of like, I can't believe that an evil spirit would do this, and then Dale asks like, is it easier to digest that a man would do this, just a normal man? And then someone says, maybe that's what Bob is, just the evil that men do or something.
Yeah.
And so if we're reading the show as like critical of the family, to have this shot pin it on the external evil when it didn't need to sort of weakens that to me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, I mean, we'll definitely have a lot to say about that, because I think that is one of the big tensions of Leland as a character. Yeah, I made a note because I'm like, I'm sure it's happened before in the show and I just never really noticed, but I feel like it's very rare that this show does the like commercial break in the middle of a scene and then like coming back. But we get that here. I guess do you want to take the other half of this as well?
Yeah, we fade back in from commercial and Donna is like staring at the picture of Laura on the mantelpiece, the grad photo. Leland like approaches her from behind and startles her, seemingly on purpose. Then
he's like smelling her hair,
Oh god, this motherfucker. He hands her a glass of lemonade, which I don't know if it's just me, but it seems suspiciously red.
And that he was like, I'll make us lemonade, but only gives it to her.
Oh
yeah.
Shit. Do you think?
I think this is absolutely like laced and drugged in spiked in some capacity.
Oh, dude. Oh, I hadn't even considered that. That's so fucked.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're really jumping in the deep end. Yeah, he goes to put on a record, which as we know he loves to do to accompany his horrors. It's like how would you describe this? I think it's classical-ish, right? Is it a waltz? I don't really know these things.
According to Wiki, it's the song J'attendrai, which is a popular French song recorded in 1938. It became the big French song during World War II, is what Wikipedia says about it.
That's awesome. Huh, that's a very specific period. I wonder if if the other, Leland musical choices are also from that
Mm-hmm,
era.
mm-hmm.
Anyway, he puts it on, he starts dancing. He has this great sort of like floaty bounce thing when he moves. He
Mm-hmm.
gets Donna to start dancing with him, and then his movement sort of gets kind of off, and then he grabs Donna and just like
Yeah,
pulls
yeah,
her in so tightly, and she is fucking terrified. And
yeah,
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 yeah, then we get a ring at the door. It is Harry telling Leland that there's been another murder. Donna immediately knows who it is,
mm-hmm,
because
mm-hmm.
of course.
Yeah,
And Harry and Leland leave without even really acknowledging Donna.
yeah. This is a lot. This is like, I mean, there's so many little like details in the scene that are like so, I think, very effective and like really, really make my like give me goosebumps. There's like
Mm-hmm.
it right from when we fade back in. This is where Donna's saying like about Maddie. I know she was expecting us. I guess I was selfish. I thought I could see her anytime. I mean, Missoula's not that far away, right? To which Leland says, "Oh, Donna, you're taking this too much too much to heart. I'm sure she's just fine," which is great because it's like, obviously Donna's thinking, is she in danger? But like she's also like she's like, yeah, I thought I could go see her in Missoula anytime. The like I'm sure she's just fine isn't quite replying to what she was saying. Like what she was saying is like kind of held in suspension between has she been murdered and
It's
like
true.
will I be able to go visit her? And it's like I think him jumping to like, oh no, she's fine. There's no way she's been murdered by me. Is like a real like, you know what I mean?
For
Like
real, for real.
kind of tipping the cards a bit. I love like when he goes to put on the record, we get this like thunder crash, which comes back quite a bit throughout this episode. And we see like the Bobo vision for a second, and like Bob's face is like almost anguished, is like
Mm.
in this like space in between, like kind of how we saw him a little bit in Ronette's flashback.
Hey, where the fuck is Ronette? What's that lady up
Yeah,
to,
I
huh?
guess she's just like still in like a quasi coma. I gotta say, that guy really is like, he's so good at making faces
So
of
good at
just
making
like
faces.
it's like, yeah, really in between his kind of like rage and like animalistic pleasure, but also kind of the anguish in the way of like, yeah, if he feeds on like pain and fear and misery, like he's also in a way
Full of
kind
it.
of like, yeah, there's like the moment, this is another screenshot that I put in, like when he goes out for the dance and he says, may we have this dance, which feels to me very a case for Bob and Leland as some degree of collaborators, you know what I mean?
Dude.
Right?
Mm.
Well, and like check out the screenshot as he's going up. This is like the exact same positioning as when he's chasing Maddie around the living room.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like with the arms are like kind of out in the way of like when he, like when she starts running and he's like going to intercept her, like it's the exact same positioning in a way that is like really fucking gets me.
Yeah, completely. Predator stance.
I really like that you pointed out the way Dale really kind of drops the ball with Donna this episode, because like, yeah, right as soon as she walks in, like she's scared but going along with it. You really get the sense that she knows that like as soon as she screams and runs, it's go time, murder wise, because like that was true for Madeline, right? It was like, but she's really nervous. She's not taking a sip of the lemonade. She has this like forced smile. You really get the sense of like,
Yeah.
she knows she's in a cage with an animal and is just like trying to find the opportunity, like, kind of ease along until she can find the opportunity to go. Yeah, like it is really crazy. I see in your notes, you just say nobody's looking out for her. Dale just fucking bounced and gave her no further instruction about this murderer, including that like killed two of her friends,
Two of her friends. He doesn't
That
tell
Maddie's
her
dead.
that
Yeah.
Maddie's been murdered. I'm sure I've already said this. And yeah, Harry, it's like Donna is physically not present when Harry arrives. I don't know if he just doesn't see her or
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah. I
care.
mean, I guess obviously he's just been asked to like collect
It's
all the
fucking
men in the
weird.
town. But yeah, it is kind of and like I think it's even like there's one for her safety, and two, she clearly has an intuition and a sense of Leland's danger.
Definitely.
I'm just thinking about like earlier, I think this was in season 1, but when Audrey was like, hello, Dale Cooper, I have a clue to give you. And he said, no, I don't want that. Go away. Go be a schoolgirl. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, honestly, I had written Donna off to some extent because it seemed like she was not really making much progress in her like personal
Mhm.
investigation. But she in this episode has clearly been of of great help with the Mrs. Tremond thing. She has like real contributions to offer, and I kind of regret having written her off.
Because I thinking about her, thinking about Audrey, like these are young women that have found out things through their own investigation and also have found out things because they are like victimized in ways that, you know, Dale Cooper wouldn't be. And in being victimized, you like, you know, learning who the perpetrators are of those things, you know? And yeah, there has been really a through line through this all of like Dale being unwilling or unable to understand what women are saying, you know, like hashtag listen to women. But you know what I mean? Like there is like, yeah, like these characters like have a very, you know, like he ends up identifying Leland through his like gum vision quest, you know, which is a great scene. But like there is a big degree to which like sit down and talk to Donna and what are her experiences of Leland Palmer, and like you would learn shit and he just doesn't, you know?
Very frustrating.
Yeah. Oh, when he goes to like answer the door and he's like, you stay right there.
Oh.
I think this is like the tension is really well done, and how fresh in the memory like the Lonely Souls murder is really works here.
Elevates it for sure. Yeah, that line feels it reminds me of when Dale is talking to Audrey in the hotel, I think in that episode. He just says like, go to your room, lock the door. Like basically just a very like, I am the role of your father. You cannot question me here.
So we then go from there of like Donna has kind of, there's been a murder, you know, Benny's parents haven't heard from her. She puts 2 and 2 together and she's just kind of wandering down the road, and James drives up on his motorcycle. They seem to just kind of encounter each other. Again, another moment in which you would think that Harry would be like, have some kind of interaction with her. That's not just, yeah, go wander the roads or whatever. I see your note is just, this scene is crazy, pure melodrama. And it really is. This is a bizarre scene. So basically James drives up, Donna's like, hey, it's Maddie, she's dead, it was the same killer. And James just blurts out, we could have helped her. Donna, how? James, we could have helped her. Donna, how? James, I don't know. This is no good.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So, and basically James is just like, I gotta go. It says, nothing we do matters. Nothing's ever going to change. It doesn't matter if we're happy and the rest of the world goes to hell. And I guess just like, yeah, kind of rides off into the sunset to talk about women some more. I'm joking about it, but I think this is like, this is a weird scene. Because like James is like kind of underselling it. Like he doesn't seem surprised. And part of that is like, in a way, I'm like, is this the confirmation of what they both kind of already quote unquote knew in that roadhouse scene that they then never talked about until now, but they kind of like subconsciously knew?
Sure. Yeah, no, there is clearly an element of like intuitive or subconscious knowledge. Just the fact that Donna here says it's the same killer. I mean, she just understands that because it's obvious. And I think, do you think she knows in this moment that it's Leland?
I feel like probably, because even now that I'm thinking about it, her going to Leland to like give, you know, like deliver this song to Maddie feels also like I'm pretty sure that I think that she's dead subconsciously because I had this weird dream roadhouse experience. Well, I'm like trying to find confirmation of that, like while being in denial of it.
It's sort of arbitrary that she would bring it to Leland to mail. Like she could have mailed it herself.
Yeah.
Maybe we think of this. I mean, we haven't seen her do much like for Maddie in general that was not motivated by the investigation.
Yeah.
We haven't seen her do much at all that wasn't motivated by the investigation.
I'm curious, does this scene like work for you?
Huh. I don't dislike it, but I wouldn't say it entirely works. It feels like a very surreptitious like undoing of the Donna and James thing. Like, are they broken up now? Is something I'm wondering about. Like, is this their disengagement?
It feels like it. I think this is a moment where like James's performance being in this kind of like wooden soap opera language, like vocabulary, I think doesn't work with this scene for me. Like there's a version of it that really works because like I think the idea, like, you know, nothing we do matters, nothing's ever going to change, banger line, you know, as like for these two. And like I think there's things to think about, that like they both kind of already knew subconsciously, even just because she was Laura too, you know. And like there's something about like that it was Laura's murder that brought them together. and then for Maddie's to bring them apart. Like, what does that mean for them as characters, you know? Like, if
Oh,
I wonder, it feels like there's even something
that's
here on
interesting.
like the metafictional level of like they were brought together by the sense of investigation, you know, that like Laura dying meant that if they were together, they could be closer to Laura through each other, and also get closer to Laura
Mhm.
through doing their own trying to find out things about her. Like that, you know, all of their like investigation stuff always felt like it was a trying to build like a tulpa of Laura to be close to, you know what I mean? The fact that they like have to split apart now feels connected to the fact that Maddie's murder also revealed the killer for the show, in that the thing that was bringing them together was wanting to learn more about Laura, and now that the thing, from the show's perspective at least, like is known, there's nothing for them to like be pulled together about, you know what I mean? Like they also thrived off of that
Sure.
investigation. And also like
Yeah.
Maddie's murder, I think in a way, I think it feels like it hits them on the like, and you can never really know Laura. I don't know. It's like I'm saying all this and I like all that, but then when it happens on the screen, I was kind of like, I don't know. It doesn't quite get there for me, but I like what it's trying to do, you know?
I think I'm with you. I think there are a couple scenes here that feel like they inappropriately like put the soap
Mm-hmm.
on more than really serves the
Mm-hmm.
episode. I think also just on a I guess I've heard and I've mentioned before that that this show is like building to a pretty bleak
Mm.
conclusion, whether in the season or the next. And thinking about this as just a like, what are we doing
Yeah.
here? General, nothing any of the
Mm.
investigations have done has managed to prevent this
Mm-hmm.
violence. There is no use in continuing the plot
Mm-hmm.
threads as like an expression of despair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm talking myself into liking it, but I don't think I do.
Yeah, even me, I was saying all this like thematic stuff, and I'm like, that's great. But it's kind of like it's not really in the scene itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally, dude.
Which is, I think, where a lot of like James and Donna stuff kind of lands for me, is I think there's like a lot of really interesting stuff about it, like just out of frame.
I think, like, in general, the fact that their relationship takes on this, like, sort of really schmaltzy, a little
Mm-hmm.
fake, like, register, I think that really works because they have been sort of lying to themselves about whether they love each other, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, this should be the scene of disillusionment, and it still has that weird fantasy sheen over it, and that doesn't really
Mm-hmm.
make sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good read. That's a good read. Now we have one of the next big ones, if we're moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 2 3 really big scenes that are still left. So there's Dale has like assembled all the boys at the roadhouse. We got Leland, we got Ed, we got Leo and Bobby, and like just like all of the men in town. I guess not all of them, because we got Ben Horn, we don't have Hank, but like basically just like it feels like a one, here are all the men, and two, here are like, it feels like Sherlock Holmes assembling all of the suspects to like announce that he solved the case, you know?
Yeah. In a circle, I might add, in a ring.
Whoa, true. Which was one of my first notes, that it is funny, like we've been talking about how much this episode is like creating the illusion of being a logical detective episode, even though it's really not. Like usually you would gather everyone because you're like, I've solved the case, but no, now he's gathering them all here to, you know, via gum magic intuit it. But you know, usually it would be the other way around. But so at first he's like, yeah, we need magic, but something's missing. The 3 on the dot, Major Briggs comes in with the old waiter. He says that you flagged him down in the road. The waiter gives Coop a stick of gum, and here we have the magic moment. Leland says, "Oh, I know that gum. I used to chew it when I was a kid. That's my most favorite gum in the world."
Just a level of like adoration for the gum that makes no sense. I
It's
really like
so
it.
funny. In the transcript here, and I don't know if the elderly waiter is named Senor Drollcup. So there's just a little fact. I don't know
Do
if
with
that's
that what you
just
will.
the Glastonbury Grove transcript having people having fun, or if that was like in the original shooting script or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, he says that gum you like is going to come back in style, which, whoa, we get the like flashback. Also, like I should have said throughout all this, there's been like these, like when we first see the roadhouse, there's this big lightning outside, and like throughout all this, we keep getting these like flashes of thunder
Yes.
that are
which
like illuminating the entire place.
has been a sign of Bob this whole time. And it's especially striking here
Yeah.
because this is a room without windows.
Yeah, very much so. It is magic. And it's also like the big thing. It's electricity. I'm just still always keeping an eye on electricity as
It's
like a David Lynch
true.
like theme that he likes a lot. But also, just while I'm going over the initial stuff, I don't know if we've seen them before, but all around the roadhouse are like legally brandless neon beer signs that are all just like beer, genuine draft, lager
Genuine.
beer. It's just like the most like we can't put, how was it, Heisenberg, like Heineken or whatever, so we're just, it's beer.
It's really good. I see these two that are like blurred out in the background. I think one is Sandwich Lager and one is maybe
So
Father
funny.
Day Ale.
Father Day Ale. Oh man, I'm skipping around, but I'm just like looking at my notes at the beginning. I love like when Bobby shows up with Leo, he's like kind of careening around with Leo in the wheelchair. He's like being a rude boy like he was in the pilot. There's a real sense of Dale like acting as like the director of a like TV or film production. Like he's like guiding everyone to stand places, like giving directions. Ben is just like sitting very nonplussed, eating his nuts, just like, come on. It also, at first, when the old guy held out the gum, for a second I was expecting it to be the gum that you take it snaps your finger. It just really looks like it,
Oh my god.
Yeah, so then like, see, he has the gum moment. We get these like cool freeze frames as like a thunder strikes of like all the characters. And we like, I'm putting in because I love Leland's smile in this moment. We see like all the characters in the room. And then like the thunder flashing is like interpolated as being the strobe light from the dream, like of the red room.
Oh shit, I forgot there was a strobe. Yeah. I think they used a similar effect in the Julie Cruz like performance scene, the It Is Happening Again scene.
Yes,
There was
definitely.
just like a blinding light that came over the room.
Yeah. So yeah, we see the little guy dancing. We see Laura going up and whispering in his ear, and now we hear it. We hear, my father killed me. Then like we're back in the room, but we're still in kind of like vision land. We see the giant, extends his arm out and like gives the ring to Cooper, and then the giant like dematerializes, the ring falls to the ground. Really cool effects. I really like this bit,
Yeah.
So yeah, we're back in the room. He puts the gum in his mouth. He like goes and picks up the ring, and he's like, he's got it. He's learned it all, and he pulls off the lawyer's gambit, in which he's like, Ben Horn, I'd like you to come with me to the station. You might like to bring Leland as your attorney. Because we know what he's doing.
It's like smart. Obviously, I'm like, oh shit, that's such a good way to do this. But it also doesn't make sense because within like the illusion that Leland has been keeping up is that he feels completely gutted and betrayed by Ben murdering his daughter.
Oh God, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So like, why would he go and be his lawyer? It doesn't actually make sense if you think about it. Like I don't know why he would agree to that or not be suspicious. But it's just fun, like mystery movie type shit, right?
Yeah. So yeah, there's like so much here. There's like, on the one hand, like one of my notes was just like, it is kind of crazy to see Twin Peaks clearing the way for the plot so much. Like this has been the whole episode, but like this one even too, it really is just like, we have all the characters here. We're doing the plot in a way that usually Twin Peaks loves to just like, oh, you want to have the plot move through here? Let me throw a desk in the way. And the desk is some like, side plot that we're going to have to like, is going to take up episode time.
Yeah.
There's the thing here about like he says like, that was my favorite gum as a kid. We know that we get definitely later on, we get some very explicit like child sexual assault stuff going on with how Leland talks about Bob. And like, we know as a kid is when he was like asked if he wanted to play with fire.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting for him to be like, yeah, that's my favorite gum. There's something there with like, is the gum, you could read it as like the gum is the symbol of like the childhood innocence that he lost, but you could also read it as like the gum is the symbol of like, because I think I like the idea of it. It's like empty consumption. You know what I mean?
Ooh, huh.
Yeah, right? In the way that like this, this perfect like circle of appetite and satisfaction, in a way that like, one, there's no tension to it. You're just getting what you want right away. And in that light, it does feel very, kind of critical of this idea of TV consumption that like we need to know who the killer is. We have the appetite, we need the satisfaction immediately. This
Sure,
kind of
sure.
like empty consumption of violence in a way that Gum feels connected to.
Huh.
And so I think you can read that as like the experience that Leland had of a child of like being assaulted by Bob, that he like chose to embrace this, right? That this like empty consumption, this moment, he's like, this is my favorite Gum. This is what I do now. Like I'm going to repeat this hereditary trauma.
Oh shit. Well, also, the lightning strikes would suggest that Bob is very much in the driver's seat right now, and so it's interesting to consider like, is this an authentic statement from Leland, or is this Bob like sort of role playing as Leland, and like relishing that moment for different reasons?
Honestly, it's funny because I was reading the lightning. Like, it's true, we have seen that with Bob. I was also kind of reading it as, like, in this moment, Dale is kind of directing it. Like, he does feel like kind of the magician making it happen in this
cool.
scene.
That's cool.
Like, he's, like, it's speaking to the spirit presence, but it felt like, yeah, in Dale's control in this moment. This is a really fun scene. This one does have the sauce.
Yes.
Do you have more here, or shall we go to the station?
I don't think I do, because I have repeatedly failed to put into words what is so cool about the scene. It just
Yeah.
works. It just hits.
Yeah.
Okay, so under the guise of rearresting Ben for the murder, everyone arrives at the police station, including Leland, Dale, Harry, Hawk. Dale like whispers something to Harry to basically be like, "Hey, actually, Leland is the murderer." They begin escorting Ben to the prison cell, but then at the last minute they throw in Leland instead, and they're like, "Ben, you're free to go, man. It's cool. We got no beef with you. Awesome guy."
Which, as you say in your notes, is kind of crazy.
Yeah, like noted human trafficker.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leland realizes the jig is up. I maybe I should say Bob. He begins like pounding on his chest and hooting, giving it like his absolute all. The cops start to talk a little bit about like, how do you know that it's Leland? They decide to extract a confession from him.
Yeah. I think like, right away, like Coop is like, that's not Leland in there. That's Bob. I love the line. Harry says, "How did you know?" And Dale says, "Laura told me in her dream." But
In her dream.
yeah, Harry, like, we need a lot stronger evidence to this. Is how about a confession? I love, like, as soon as they grab him to throw him in, he starts like howling. It's like it doesn't even wait to be thrown into the cell. I love your note
It's
here.
true.
Like, his performance is like campy in like a Jim Carrey way. It is kind of serving Jim Carrey throughout all this, for real.
It's borderline comedic. It reminds me of one of the worst Charlie Kaufman movies, Human Nature, which is all about like a man who like grew up in the wild with monkeys and then
God.
had to learn how to be a person.
That's so funny. It is animalistic. It is like monkey-like. It is dog-like. But it's so interesting seeing him, and like, he as soon as he's locked in, he's like throwing himself into one wall and then the opposite wall, and it's like crazy seeing this without the Bob vision. Like it looks so much more like powerless and futile without seeing Bob moving through him. Like it just looks shut in and pathetic. And like, yeah, this goes like right into this like next little bit of the scene where like, yeah, so they're gonna try to get a confession. They have him like cuffed to the chair. Hawk has his gun like trained on him. They're really like giving him the full like Hannibal Lecter. Harry reads his right. Leland is like full like Bob mode up. He's like, I suppose you want to ask him some questions. There's a moment here that is actually like, I love that you made the Jim Carrey, like, because it really feels like a Jim Carrey thing where, Dale says, "Did you kill Laura Palmer?" And Leland goes, "Whoo, whoo, 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 whoo." That's a yes. Which is like, you could hear Jim Carrey giving that line,
Yeah, no, it's too fucking it's kind of too much.
Yeah, it's
but also it makes sense that this is mask off Bob. He loves doing murder. He takes great pleasure in it. So like, even though he knows that he is in danger right now, that is exciting for him.
And there is like, we have him characterized as like, he loves, I think there was the line that Mike said that like he loves pain, agony, and the pleasures. Like he's about extremeness in all ways, which,
Yeah. Hey, I just want to flag, by the way, another kind of funny thing about this. So Ben really signed over all of his shit for nothing because he's not even a suspect anymore.
God, yeah, it is really
He did
funny.
it for an alibi that wasn't going to be delivered, and in the end, wasn't even like necessary. Get fucked.
Yeah, like both sides of it. Oh, that's so funny.
L after L.
My other note, remember in the fucking pilot, I think when Bobby and Mike the Snake just start fucking howling, like barking like dogs at Bobby in the jail cell?
Oh yeah. That was weird. Well, it was like high schooler shit, but it was weird.
But I don't know, that is what this brought to mind for me. So, like, you know, he's like, did you kill Madeline Ferguson? He's really like, it is very Jim Carrey. He's like, what do you think? I'm asking you, what do you think? Answer the question. Oh gosh, gee whiz, I guess I kind of sort of did. I have this thing for knives, just like what happened to you in Pittsburgh that time. Which one feels like it's setting up like attention. We've alluded to Dale Cooper's backstory in Pittsburgh. This might return in the season. But also, he didn't kill with knives. He says I have this thing for knives, but none of his murders that we saw used knives.
No, this is him in character. Like he's the fucking Grinch in this scene. None of it makes sense.
It is the Grinch. And it's so... I really can't tell if I like it or not. Because, like, it's so different from Bob as we see Bob in the other scenes. But there's, like, a part of me that's like, is this, like, extremity of, like, intense emotion, like, portrayed just through Leland without having, like, we don't have access to, like, the, like, spirit cam, like, a live spirit reaction throughout this. And is that just what it looks like when it's being funneled through just like a mundane perspective, you know? But it's weird. So let's see here. We see, like, we have Bob really gives us his whole kind of lore dump. He says, Leland, you've been a good vehicle. I've enjoyed the ride, but now he's weak and full of holes. Dale asks, does Leland know what you've done? He says, Leland's a babe in the woods with a large hole where his conscience used to be. I mean, on the one hand, I was really like, things are so much more said with a capital S than like we're used to. You know, it's like, I don't know if this is something that David Lynch would have changed or not, but like, he's really just like, I was in Leland. Leland didn't know. Saying all this. And I do think that there is, well, there's like, the other half. Honestly, actually, no. I was like, do one to the other half, but no, I think it's important to get the crazy pacing as it is. But yeah, I know you pointed out earlier the fun whole thing of like the hole where his conscience used to be is like connected to the ring stuff.
And also just like maybe the place through which Bob entered or something that Leland has opened up in himself to make room for Bob.
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like there's a bunch of stuff here that we'll come back to when we get to the other half of the scene. But first we need to hear from Dick Tremond.
My man. Okay, yeah. This is like up there with the like
the
mid-murder
reveal. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's so funny.
Okay, so this is a scene with Dick Tremond, Lucy, and Andy. They're sitting in a conference room upstairs. Lucy says to the two men that like, no matter whose baby it is, I'm going to keep it. And we are going to do a blood test to determine the blood type of the father after the baby is born. But like, it is her choice what she wants to do here. Dick Tremond goes like, is that so?
Yeah, it's kind of like I will do a blood test, but I'm still going to choose who will raise him. It's like setting up that we're going to have like a daddy competition.
It's so funny. That just feels like a way to artificially extend the plot on this.
Absolutely.
But also, okay, hold up. This whole show has taken place over something like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So when the fuck is Lucy gonna give birth? Like, when is any of this gonna be relevant?
I was thinking about that just because of like when she walked in with the baby and Andy like fainted. He's like, girl, you think she like came to term in like 2 weeks? You know, it's so funny.
Oh, that was so funny. Yeah, Andy's naivety is great. But anyway, yeah, the other important thing, actually arguably the only important thing about this scene is that Dick Tremond is holding his cigarette in like the longest cigarette holder you've ever seen. It's this like really dainty long silver thing. He asks Andy for a light. Andy like taps around his coat and goes like, no. And then Dick reveals that he's been holding a lighter in his hand this entire time.
Well, it's also like as if Andy like tapped around and then realized that he didn't want to have to find a lighter. And he's like, no. Like, he remembered midway through looking around that he's like, wait a second, I don't want to do this for this guy. It's so
I don't
silly.
like you.
I love
Yeah,
Lucy's
yeah.
line of like, each of you two gentlemen will have to abide. It's like, yeah, truly my first note in all this was just, Jesus Christ, Dick Tremaine, not now. But he lights his cigarette, which we see the smoke rise into the smoke detector, which will become important. So we're going back to the interrogation room. So we have our first bit here that's just Dale announcing all the clues, like, oh, this was right in front of me the whole time, in a way that again feels very kind of like, we're tying this off, we're just going to have the character announce to the camera, here's what all the clues were, that they were like, the answer was right in front of me from the beginning. What did the little man do in my dream? He danced. After Laura's death, Leland danced compulsively. We were told Bob the killer was a gray-haired man. When Leland killed Jacques, his hair turned gray overnight. Leland said he was a child of the gray-haired man who lived in Dorm was named Robertson. Mike said the people Bob inhabited were his children. Robertson, son of Robert. And this next one, I think, is the
Oh my God.
goofiest one. The letters under the fingernails, R-O-B-T. Bob was spelling his name, the signature on a demon self-portrait. It's like, I think that's the silliest one, because like the letter under the fingernail thing is like, feels like very much a detail that was put in to like have the show have a mystery like that in the way that this kind of like procedural, like investigative show would. You know, like,
Yeah.
oh, whoa, a letter under the fingernail, you know?
It's like the killer's calling card. It's a cool trope.
Yeah.
But why did he spell it out of order? Oh, unless there are other murders we don't know about.
Whoa. He only ever calls himself Bob. Like, the whole Robert thing, like, when he says the guy next door was named Robertson, it makes sense, but I'm like, yeah, he called himself Bob, but the supernatural spirit Bob knows that Bob is short for Robert, and also he wants to sign his full name Robert. And also he wants to do it out of order, R-O-B-T. He'll get the E and R in later. It's just like so silly.
Honestly, that the reason for this is that if it had just been B and O,
Yeah,
for
then
example,
it's way too
or
obvious.
B-O-B, yeah, it would have ruined the whole thing.
Yeah.
At which point I would say pick a different calling card, but that's just me. So Dale putting together the clues here is like, you know what I was saying earlier about how like he is having his little witness investigation thing. He gets to feel like a good detective, but like none of this fucking matters. All of it was right in front of him the whole time, and he's learning it, like he's putting it together after it ceases to be relevant, right?
Yeah, for
I
real.
think the narrative role of this is to have the viewers like tie off these mental threads in their head. Like, oh, that's why Leland's hair changed color. That's satisfying. The showrunners are smart.
I think this is one of the points where the illusion is thinnest, but it really is all like taking all this stuff of Twin Peaks, which is intentionally was either like details that were put in first to just evoke a mystery, or like are intentionally playing in this kind of illogical spiritual space and like scrapbooking them together into the shape of a like investigative deduction, you know? Even though it kind of doesn't make sense. And like you say, it's too late, you know?
It's too late. Oh, dude.
So then we have the final, like, other big bit of this scene, which is Dick's fucking cigarette makes the sprinklers go off, which is definitely this kind of like finalizes all of the like indoor thunder that we've seen throughout the episode. We get to have this like indoor thunderstorm, like it's raining inside effect, you know, with the sprinklers going off. So Leland and Bob is going crazy. Leland is like reciting the Fire Walk With Me poem, screams the Fire Walk With Me. I made a note that I'm like, the whole like through the dark of futures past, the magician longs to see one chance out between two worlds, Fire Walk With Me. That's great. The second bit of it that we only have now, and like the first time we have the dream, I'll catch you with my death bag. You may think I've gone insane, but I promise I will kill again, is so much less good than the like Fire Walk With Me all-timer. You may think I've gone insane. It's like, girl, come on, you could have done better than that.
Yeah.
Fucking like primordial spirit of evil Bob, you know?
It's true. Okay, can I ask about the death bag? What the fuck is... Have we talked about this recently? What is the death bag? I don't feel like there has been a death bag.
I mean, is it the wrapped in plastic? Like, is it because she's in like plastic? It's like big plastic bags, kind of.
Oh, I guess that could be it. That seems pretty likely, but that's not really how the person is like caught, and it feels like a very active verb.
Yeah.
I will catch you, because he is a guy who grabs people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's plausible. I honestly hope that there is like they uncover something under his floorboards that is just called the death
death bag. Yeah. But yeah, so like Leland, Bob, they're going crazy. Hooten, he starts like banging his head against the door. And we earlier, Bob did say, like, when I leave Leland, I'll pull the ripcord. And you watch Leland, watch him, but not for long. I guess whatever. He's, Leland's gonna die when I leave. Fulfilling this, he's just like bashing Leland's head into the door to kill him / kill himself. Very much the same way that he killed Maddie. Feels important to me. I do want to read another Log Lady thing from a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
Sometimes nature plays tricks on us and we imagine we are something other than what we truly are. Is this a key to life in general, or the case of the two-headed schizophrenic? Both heads thought that the other was following itself. Finally, when one head wasn't looking, the other shot right between the eyes and, of course, killed himself. Kind of.
Oh, that's gotta be. That's gotta have to do with this.
Yeah.
We imagine we are something other than what we truly are. That feels like a comment on externalizing the evil, right?
Yeah.
Which I know we will have more to say about shortly,
Yes.
but the idea that we need there to be a Bob to explain what Leland did. So about the whole like Dale putting together the pieces bit, what I do like about this is that it's not like a cool guy power fantasy. It feels much more in line with like what James said, that like nothing we do matters.
Yeah.
We and Dale are both just like sitting back and watching at this point. We're like, oh, we haven't actually been consequential in this at all. We are powerless against this evil. All we can do is like witness. So I think that is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like one of the big scenes of this episode now. I know when Ray Wise was talking about like how he didn't know, the Leland actor, when he didn't know that Leland was the killer, and when he was told, he was like, oh my God, no. And Dale was like, don't worry, it's been you all along, but you'll have a beautiful redemption scene, basically. And that's kind of, it's very, it's complicated. I can't wait till we watch Firewalk with Me in fucking like another 13 episodes or whatever. But so he's saying like, oh my God, Laura, I killed her. I killed my daughter. I didn't know. Forgive me. Oh God, I was just a boy. I saw him in my dreams. He said he wanted to play. He opened me and I invited him and he came inside me. Very, very direct child sexual assault stuff going on here.
Very on the nose.
Yeah. When he was inside, I didn't know. And when he was gone, I couldn't remember. He made me do things, terrible things. He said he wanted lives. He wanted others they could use like they used me. They wanted her. They wanted Laura, but she was strong. She fought them. She wouldn't let them in. They said if I didn't give them Laura, they'd have me kill her too. And she said she would die before she let them, and they made me kill her. What have I done? Forgive me. I love her with all my heart, etc. Then he dies, and Leland, or we'll get to Cooper giving him his kind of like, I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is actually like a Buddhist or like transcendental meditation, but it gives him kind of a death ritual. But let's just talk about this here with Leland.
Yeah. Okay. So for how momentous it is, I'm unfortunately a little bit disappointed in this scene.
I also was the first time I watched it.
Okay. I will be curious to hear how it changed this time. Like, I don't feel that Ray Wise's performance really communicates the gravity of this. It doesn't feel like this is a man realizing that he killed his daughter because he failed to end a cycle of violence. It feels, it's just like teary. I don't feel like the horror is in the room with us. The sprinkler thing is beautiful. I like that he's being held like that La Pieta statue.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The sprinkler thing is cunty.
Yeah. It feels like like the whole world is crying for this loss. It is a cool continuation of like the lightning nature-y thing. But yeah, I don't know, man. So you didn't adore it on your first watch. What did you think this time?
Well, Lily, I really like your note here earlier.
Yeah. Okay, so the whole thing of like Leland, oh my God, I didn't know. It just feels like it's absolving him a little too much. I'm really of two minds on this. Like on one level, I don't think that like being a person who abuses children is like a siloed off characteristic. It's not like you don't just catch like the inherently evil child molester trait. It's something that like regular parents do to their children and regular people do to each other. it kind of feels like this scene is saying, no, like actually being a father is okay. It's this other thing that's the problem. But I will say,
Yeah,
to be fair,
yeah.
on like just the basic emotional level, I do think Bob still works. Just like the
Hmm.
horror whenever he is present, like absolutely hits
Yeah,
hard.
yeah.
I think that might be one reason that the show is like so beloved among young women is it just like communicates the emotional experience. If even if it doesn't have like a super solid analysis of the
Yeah.
family, it gets across like
Hmm.
yeah, the subjective side of it.
Yeah, I like I've said, I think there are parts in Twin Peaks where it feels like the show is very directly saying like Leland was innocent and Bob used him. That is what's happening right now. There will be parts of this like series moving forwards where it feels like it is directly telling us Leland is an active participant and like invited Bob in willingly. Maybe that's a spoiler, but like I think that tension is part of like this for sure, and I think is part of why I think on a second watch I'm like a bit more generous to the scene, but I also didn't really like it in the first watch for a lot of reasons. I mean, I've talked about it. I think this show is much more compelling to me when it is just like because of my kind of like interests and opinions and like artistic sensibilities. It's much more compelling to me when it has an understanding of the family and of like small town America as like
Mhm.
participants in this evil. Like, I don't get me wrong, I love a supernatural evil that is like entered our world and is the kind of the specter of like patriarchal violence. I agree with you that having that be a strictly external thing and kind of stripped of an understanding of like just mundane American and like nuclear family
Yeah,
complicity
yeah.
makes it a lot less interesting for me. I also agree that like Ray Rice's performance here isn't the best. I agree that it is like it just doesn't quite hit, as much as we would want.
Yeah, it's maybe just like not as complex. It's a little bit it's sort of like just weepy.
Yeah. It's funny like hearing him talk about it as like it made him feel more okay for it to be him the killer that he got to have this scene, because it does feel like a scene that's like an apology to either the actor or people that want to believe in the idea of a good father. You know what I mean? Of being like, no, you
Ooh,
see, he
dude.
gets to cry, he gets to redeem himself. Don't worry. It's okay. And obviously me, I'm like,
That's so
I don't
true.
know, man. I think you gotta really, twist the arm with like fathers as a societal category.
Yeah, yeah. I would have punched this fucker in the face while he dies.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with everything you're saying, and let's return in the future to this theme when it comes up in the future. But yeah, I
Yeah.
like the first time I watched this, I was also kind of disappointed in this because it feels like it's settling the issue
Mhm.
in a way that I am less interested in. Like, I like the tension, but if they're gonna settle the issue, I'd rather them not settle it in the direction of and Leland was niceys.
I'm looking forward to seeing them maybe complicate this in the future.
Yeah. And so, okay, in terms of the like very obvious like child sexual assault stuff going on there is really like they wanted others they could use, like they used me. Like reading this like metaphorically, I'm like there was a degree to which, if he has this childhood trauma, he's compelled by it, but is also going along with it, because he does say like Laura fought her. Laura wouldn't have let them take her like that.
Mhm.
And obviously that's true in this like literal spirituality way of like she would not let the demon Bob possess her, but there is also something there about like Laura was strong in a way that he wasn't, of saying no, I'm not going to take on this like spirit of trauma and then become a vehicle for hurting other people, in a way that he was like, yes, that is what I'm going to do. I was hurt as a child by you in this way, and my reaction to that is give me more gum. I'm going to choose this empty consumption. I'm going to choose to
Uh,
put this violence onto others and accept being a like transmitter of it. You know what I mean?
it's true, it's true. Like over the last few episodes, my admiration and appreciation for Laura have certainly
Mm,
grown. And I'm starting to understand why she is so like revered in some, segments of the community.
yeah. Also, there's this last bit here where I just wrote, thanks, Coop, for the Buddhist death rights. I really don't know anything about Zen Buddhism or like that much really about transcendental meditation, but I kind of assumed that was where this was coming from. But you have some notes on this about this like ritual that Coop gives Leland as he dies.
Yes, I do. So maybe for starters, I can just read it
Yeah,
out.
go for it.
And then I'll call out a couple things that I caught. Like holding Leland's head in his lap, he says, Leland, the time has come for you to seek the path. Your soul has set you face to face with the clear light, and you are now about to experience it in its reality, wherein all things are like the void and cloudless sky, and the naked, spotless intellect is like a transparent vacuum without circumference or center. Leland, in this moment, know yourself and abide in that state. Look into the light, Leland. Find the light. So I think this is pretty cool, to be honest. Like
Mhm.
I do like the glimpses at Dale's spirituality
Mhm.
without circumference or center. This is a religious idea that I quite
Hmm.
like. It dates back to I believe like the 13th
Hmm.
century. I know Voltaire like popularized it. I heard it from Carl Jung. It's this quote is God is a circle whose center is everywhere and circumference nowhere.
Hmm.
I imagine that's what that is referencing. And yeah, I quite like it. I feel like it is very compatible with my ideas about these things too. And then, yeah, wherein all things are like the void and cloudless sky. This is not a reference that the show is making, but it is something that I've seen referenced in the years
Hmm.
since. So, as you know, Shoo Shoo, one of my favorite bands, heavily, heavily inspired by Twin Peaks. They did the cover album. Their name is from a movie directed by Joan Chen,
Hmm.
who plays Josie. Unclouded Sky is the name of one of their albums. I
Mm.
would not be surprised if that is where that came
Mhm.
from.
That is fun.
Yeah, it's a very like spiritual album, and I think I'm gonna go have to listen to
Hell
that.
yeah.
And I have been thinking for like months that we should make a Twin Peaks Twin Peaks bonus episode. A Shoo Shoo bonus episode. Yeah, cover the well-loved television series Twin Peaks. We
That would
should
be
consider
crazy. We should do a
that.
podcast about that.
Unfortunately, we do run a Shoo Shoo review show. So, any thoughts on this segment?
I made one note here, honestly, because like I like that you have that context, because I was kind of just, I think, rolling my eyes because I was rolling my eyes at Leland being like, I was just niceys, and then I think it was just like Dale being, it isn't, not to say that I think this should be her as bad, but I was kind of like, okay, Dale, we get it. I think, and I'm also, it's the thing of being
Sure.
like, Dale, man, I think you should be condemning this man, not giving him a, well, whatever, restorative justice, I guess.
Well, I guess there's nothing that can be done at this moment. I
Yeah.
was joking that I would be punching him.
Yeah. But okay, so Leland is like, I see Laura. I'm going with her into the light. He's going to where Laura is. Now, I'm just going to plant a little seed for the future. And I see that you said, can I please read this in a David Lynch impression? So I'm just going to read what I wrote in all caps. Okay, so let's keep an eye out on if these characters, Laura and Leland, ever reappear, and where that is, and if Dale has done a good job guiding Leland into the quote light end quote.
Thank you. I needed
Let's
that.
just keep an eye on that. Who knows if that might happen? Maybe it won't. Hee hee.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if these two characters, we ever see them somewhere, let's just pay attention to where that could be.
Yeah.
And then we have the big final scene. I see you want to take it. Our boys thinking about what it means to be men or whatever.
Our boys thinking about what it means to be men, indeed. Okay, so this is the scene that mirrors the very first one. The men thinking boys are out in the woods. It's a sunny, warm morning, it looks like, which I'm not even sure makes sense with like the timeline of this episode. So yeah, you got Cooper, Tremond, and thank you for noting that his name is Albert. I keep thinking of him as like, what is it that Andy says? Alfred Rosenfeld or something?
It's so funny.
That is his name to me. Anyway, they're out walking in the woods and they encounter Major Briggs, who is always a welcome sight. They're just, yeah, they're sort of working through this. They're trying to understand, how is any of this possible? Truman says he has trouble believing, in this crazy spirit thing. And Dale asks, is it easier to believe that a man would rape and murder his own daughter? They agree that it is not. Both are equally inconceivable. Briggs has some, interesting contributions. This is just such a like philosophical conversation scene
yeah.
in a way that I really like. it's a postscript. They're all sitting with like the gravity of what has just happened and what it means for them. Yeah, to Dale, Briggs responds like, does it matter the cause? And Dale thinks it does because, they're trying to stop this from happening again. Supposedly. Not that I have the most faith in them at this point. Albert says maybe that's all Bob is, the evil that men do. Doesn't matter what you call it.
I gotta say, that line, like when I first watched the show, that one made me laugh so much because it's just like I know you mentioned this earlier, it just really is like men turning to the camera and going, wow, maybe the real evil is the patriarchy,
Which is funny because they've just presented a very compelling case against that.
Yeah, it's very silly to me. I think it's like, I think that is true. I think the show is making the case that Bob is the evil that men do. When I first watched this scene, the first time I watched it with our friend Benji, and I was just like, man, this is like, Twin Peaks is such a transmasculine show in terms of like, it is a show in which a bunch of men sit around and go, isn't it kind of messed up to be a man? That's kind of weird. That's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, dude, that's so funny. It
is funny that like Briggs is just there. Like he just kind of appears in the middle of the path. And at first it looks like he's appeared to be like, the spirits told me to come give you a message. But no, he's just there to ruminate with them on being a man and the nature of violence and stuff. I think it's like a bit too on the nose for me. Wow, maybe that's all Bob is, the evil that men do.
That's fair.
I think it's also a bit too on the nose in a way that I find charming, though. I won't lie.
Yeah, same. I don't know, like as busy as the last few episodes have been, this is still a show that has been like pretty oblique most of the time. So yeah, a little bit more of just the release of like, hey, this is what we were saying this whole time is still satisfying to me, I think.
It really is a bunch of men sit around to talk about the idea of the patriarchy, which like I can be critical of, and I think it's unclear to me whether the show is being critical of that or not. This is like one of those where I'm like, but yeah, I think my rate on this scene is mostly that I think it's funny, frankly.
Yeah, that's fair, dude. Anyway, the last little bit of this scene is they're like, hey, wait, if Bob was like an evil spirit who like possessed people, couldn't he be like out like doing other shit right now? Like, where's that dude at? This last bit, I also get a feeling I like much more than you do. We cut to a thick forest with a burnt out car just sitting there. There is like a steady cam running through the forest, and then at the end we get this like this like low frame rate, almost like GIF looking overlay of an owl flying right at the camera. Freeze frame, cut to credits. I genuinely fuck with this, partially because there's a connection that I was not expecting to pay off. I've noticed many times that in the Palmer household, in the living room, there's this like really ethereal sort of light purple light that makes it feel like it is a little physically removed from everything else. A kind of light that you don't really see in the real world. And these last few shots have this like very conspicuous like light purple cast over them. Yeah, I don't have like a literal read on what that color means right now or anything, but it makes me think like, oh, hey, when I see something, say something. Because that actually did pay off.
Interesting. Like, as in, you think that like same filter effect being here is like speaking to like the fucked up spirit presence in both of them?
I'm not sure that I have such a definitive read yet, but that seems likely to me.
Fun. Okay, yeah. I like that. I think I just wrote fucking demon vision is kind of silly, but I think this is like where like sometimes Twin Peaks is fun when it's stupid and silly. I think this is on that line for me, but I also like your reads. And that's the episode.
That's the episode. Man, oh man.
Yeah.
Wow. We have seen the mystery through to such a great extent.
For real.
And before we get into our closing segments, can I just say thank you for coming on this journey with me?
Thank you, Lily. It's been so nice. I love talking to you about Twin Peaks for 3 hours a week.
Dude,
it's genuinely such a delight.
We still have most of the show left, but I mean, this is... Sorry, I'm just thinking about what the fuck is going to happen next. Yeah, but this does feel like the end of a chapter.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and actually, speaking of what happens next, I kind of want to jump right from that into... I think I want to do this now. I wasn't sure if I was going to do this now or next episode. I have 2 truths and a lie let me get this well. So I have two truths and a lie for things that happen in the back half of the crazy Twin Peaks season 3.
Oh, dude, that's great.
Yeah, I think this. I was thinking with this as like, what's a fun thing to go into the like infamous back half of season 2, because it's really interesting to think about how many things are like considered core to Twin Peaks that are in that back half of season 2. I'm really curious to see, and I think we'll talk about this a lot next episode. I'm really curious to see what it'll be like for us, because like even just that Twin Peaks cares about the Black Lodge. That word has not been said at all so far, like,
oh my god, true.
And like I said, there's a strong chance that we come out of it being kind of season 2 defenders. I think there's stuff that we'll like. So
Cool.
Here are 2 truths and a lie. And what I want you to do is, this can be our new like Who Killed Laura Palmer. I want you to right now choose one that you think, and then as we go on and these events happen, then they will like process of elimination find out which one was the lie. So
okay, let's hear it.
1, Bobby Briggs finds redemption coaching Nadine on how to be the best high school football player in Twin Peaks high school history. 2, Andy and Dick Tremaine become convinced that the child Lucy is parenting was fathered by the devil from the Bible. 3, Leo Johnson enters a non-consensual S&M relationship with Coop's former partner, Wyndham Earl.
Okay. Oh, so 2 of these are true?
And 1 is a lie.
Oh my god. Oh, this is so fun. Okay. I'm gonna say that the Leo Johnson one is definitely true. Like that's too specific. I expect him to remain in a coma for at least like 6 or 7 more episodes. I think we're gonna meet Wyndham Earl. So yeah, I'm gonna say that one's true. Andy and Dick Germain being convinced the child is from the devil from the Bible. This one I'm a little more on the fence about. I don't think they like each other, but it could be interesting to see them unite on something. They're both not as too bright. So it's not totally impossible. But it's the question is that more plausible than like Twin Peaks High School indulging Nadine's fantasy of still being a teenager? I don't know.
And is that where Bobby would find redemption,
I don't think Bobby's actually looking for redemption.
Interesting.
So you know what? I'm going to say that one's a lie, even though it is the least absurd one. And I will hope that I'm right just because I want to see these other 2 play out.
Well, only time will tell. Anyway, do you have any crazy dreams?
Yeah, dude. I had another.
Fuck yeah.
Twin Peaks dream. We're on a roll. I think I told you about this shortly after it happened. Am I right?
I don't know. Tell me.
So I woke up being like, oh shit, I just got spoiled for the end of Twin Peaks because I had been convinced that I watched this clip somewhere. I remain unsure whether this is like a dream I had or something I saw when I picked up my phone in the middle of the day.
Okay, tell me.
And I really fucking like it, to be clear. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the police station, there's some sort of official business taking place, and then everyone except Coop leaves the room. Coop is left alone, just sort of contemplating whatever they've just discussed. And he looks at the wall. And he looks at the wood grain of the wall and thinks that's not quite right. That doesn't quite match the place that I know. And he realizes that he is in fact in the Black Lodge, whatever it is. He has been trapped in some sort of spirit dimension without knowing.
And he realizes this because he's like, the wood is different.
The wood is the same as the wood in the Black Lodge, which I still don't know what that is. And I think he remains trapped there.
Damn.
I don't know for how long. Maybe, probably not forever, because there's like a season 3. But that is my dream about the finale of this season.
Damn, I love that. And is that true? Is any of it true? Is part of it true? Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. It's going to be so funny if somehow this is actually what happens and I just like had read a spoiler on my phone.
That would be really
this
funny.
Was not a dream.
Yeah. So, okay, I had some weird dreams. Okay, actually there was one last night because I had my girlfriend Maya over who says that like woke up in the middle of the night because like I was like propped up on my elbow with my eyes open, like looking at her, and she like rolled over and didn't realize how close I was and like shrieked and was like, sorry, I shrieked really loud. And I was like, I have no memory of that at all.
Dude.
So either it just happened and I forgot, but also like, or it felt really loud to Maya, but wasn't actually. But like Maya was like, yeah, I think it's the loudest I've ever just emitted a shriek like that. And I was like, I have no recollection of this.
Wow.
So that's a bit of a spooky mystery.
Yeah, that's really funny.
I had another dream that isn't really very high concept. It's just that there was a man right outside my window looking in at me and either like taking flash photographs or filming. And I wanted to scream, but I couldn't and I was frozen.
Dude.
Which is not very high concept, but that is like a Bob scene that would happen in Twin Peaks, you know?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, just the flash of the lightning and the roadhouse scene. That's a good one.
Yeah, I really like yours. Okay, so next time on Twin Peaks. Last time, your predictions were the detectives go to the Palmer household and sit with the family. Somehow they get an inkling that Leland has been drugging Sarah, maybe because they sedate her. Also, there's a suspicious new rug. Oh yeah, that was like not in this episode at all. All this combined with his mania drives them to suspect Leland. They arrest Leland and Bob lashes out in some huge way that causes him either to bounce into someone else or physically change Leland in some way that makes him impossible to vanquish. Fucking hulking out. B plot. Christmas in March. Dale wants to go shopping around to mail Diane a Christmas present, but of course he's boycotting Horn's department store, so it is difficult. He ends up freezing and mailing a cherry pie from the diner, and my Sadie special was Pete is the Santa.
Aww.
I feel like this is another partial marks, but in terms
What?
of
No
well, I don't know, they arrested Leland, I guess.
They did arrest Leland. I don't think I get any points for this.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, but the fact that no one, like, Harry was in the house for a second and did not take notice of the rug thing. These guys are just not very good detectives. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
They're
what I'm
not very
saying.
perceptive.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, do you have any guesses about next week? And I feel like it is truly wide open right now.
Okay.
I honestly am not sure that I could guess what happens next week. I don't remember, you know?
Sure. Okay, well, I'm not putting any pressure on myself to get these right.
Uh-huh.
From Major Briggs's presence in this episode, I have a feeling that he might become a little more relevant in the back half of this season.
Mhm.
I think that maybe he works with Dale on the like sort of spiritual, metaphysical side.
Mhm.
I'll try to get that a little more concrete.
Yeah. Like do they like start a task force next episode? Do they like does something happen with them? Are they like impacted by spirits in some way that makes them want to like respond to? Because it feels like now that this is done, it's like the show needs to introduce another thing for them to have to respond to, you know?
That's true. Hey, you know what? I'm going to change this slightly.
Okay.
I think it's going to have to do with Pete Martell, who we've been seeing a lot of recently. I think so. He's a bird watcher. That feels worth something. I think some strange happenings begin to happen with birds in the town. Just knowing that like David Lynch is a big old movies guy, that seems decently likely. Yeah, fuck it. The Birds 1960 whatever starts happening in the town. Harry recruits Pete to like help out and sort of investigate what could be going on with them. Because of course, you know, Bob is in an owl, is what I'm assuming at this point.
So are we keeping Briggs in? Do we think there's any Briggs stuff next episode?
You know what? I'll save that for next time.
Alrighty. So, okay, the birds starts happening and Harry recruits Pete as a bird watcher to help out. And maybe there'll be some Briggs stuff. I don't know. I'm keeping it because I think that's fun.
Sure. I have a B plot also.
Okay, hit me with the B plot.
B plot is going to be a female David Duchovny attempts to do investigations with Audrey, who is just like,
fuck yeah.
Where is Audrey? She's just back working at the makeup counter.
Hell yeah.
They have some antics. They have some fun.
All right. So next time on Twin Peaks, The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock starts happening in the town due to Bob's owl form. Harry recruits Pete to help out, and maybe Briggs will help in a kind of spiritual, metaphysical sense. And B plot, female David Duchovny arrives and attempts to do investigations with Audrey at the makeup counter. I think given how much this is a closed book of an episode, I'm not going to push you for more details just because who the fuck knows?
That.
Yeah. All right. well, that is the end of this chapter of Twin Peaks.
Oh, what a pleasure.
Truly.
I'm excited to learn how our show is going to change in the coming
Mhm.
months. We were talking about maybe switching up the formula for this next stretch of episodes. I guess only time will tell.
Only time will tell. All right. Well,
thanks for listening, folks. Thank you for joining us on this journey over the past however many months.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Bye.
Bye.
TSTV is hosted by Sadie Avery Lake and yours truly, Lily Alexander. Our music is by Jamie Page, show art is by Maya Fernandez-Giles, and this episode was edited by Mary Chan at Organized Sound Productions. If you have any burning questions or comments for us, please send us an email at hello@tstv.show. We would love to hear from you. Thanks for listening.
Hello, it's Sadie. So I'm going to do a combination of content warnings for the next episode and just my reflections on the next bit of the show. Basically, I hope you all keep listening. This next stretch of Twin Peaks is one that a lot of people have trouble with. It's, as we've talked about, a bit infamous. I think we do a really interesting job talking through it. I think you should keep listening to our podcast. But I guess I'll say in terms of content warnings, we're moving from these past couple episodes, which I think have been representing something horrifying in a accurate, horrifying way, and more into a stretch of the show that mishandles, honestly, a handful of things. We do get some weird bits in this next episode and the next couple about, like, we meet the old mayor and we find out that he's beefing with his brother because one of them is engaged to a, quote, beautiful teenage girl, which is weird. And you'd think the show would, like, reinvestigating these themes of young women being sexually exploited by older men would have some care, but it kind of really doesn't. We also do, this is really the stretch of the show where it is really shitty to Josie in frankly racist and sexist ways, but I also just want to say thank you to everyone for sticking it this long, and I hope you've been enjoying it, and I hope that you continue to enjoy it. I was really happy with our run of this back half of season 2, and I think that there is a lot to say about it as a piece of Twin Peaks and as a piece of media, just from this kind of critical perspective, analytical perspective, and I hope that you join us for it, and I think you're all going to like it a lot. So I honestly doing this just because I know a lot of people stop watching at this part of season 2, but don't. Enjoy it with us. Have fun, and have fun with us critiquing the parts that aren't as great. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the next episode. I hope you have a lovely week. Bye.